CBS presents this program in color.
Here it comes. Television's most exciting hour of fantastic prizes. The fabulous 60-minute prize is right. Christine Williams, come on down. Jane Thatcher, come on down. Teresa Ashley, come on down. Denise Papadakis, come on down. You are the first four contestants on The Price is Right. And now here's the star of The Price is Right, Bob Barker.
Thank you. Welcome to The Price is Right.
Hey, that was kind of a long opening, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess so, but we're going to have a great show today. I'm going to start with a trivia question, my buddy. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess I'll play, but I need to know one thing. What time is it?
It's Podblast time! That's right. It's Podblast time. I see a lot of people are tuning in on the YouTube side and Facebook Live side. Grateful for everybody tuning in on a busy Friday night as we're live. Hello to Skelly Ton. How are you doing, sir? Hello to Esmeralda. Hello to the Queen Mary on YouTube. Hello to you on Facebook who said epic. I'll go on Facebook in a moment and see who that is. Hello, of course, to Sarah, my flock. Now, I want to start on a serious note pertaining to my flock, Sarah. She's made this public, so I can say this with a heavy heart. I must offer my condolences to her because she lost her father after a long illness. I won't specify. That's none of my business to reveal what that was. But, you know, I hope I can take your mind off your loss. I know you're in grieving mode, and you know, I'm sorry if I stepped on some toes mentioning that, but I had to because I care about you. You're a really good friend to the show, and you've invited me onto your show on my flock on YouTube. So anyone is nice to me, I'll be nice right back. So you know, but also I'm a human being, and I mean, to lose a parent, that's devastating. So anyway, let's get on with the fun now and talk about game shows. We're going to talk about the best MCs of all time who are no longer with us, sadly. And we're going to have some funny clips, a lot of bloopers, and some people that weren't hosts like Paul Lynde that were hysterical on Hollywood Squares and other shows. Sarah says, love you so much, Chance. You're amazing. Well, right back at you, sister. That's really, really tough what you're going through. And I sympathize completely. But let's start the show now because it is Podblast time. I hope everyone's doing fine. This is your weird, informative, and hopefully fun time capsule of memories of days gone by as we all forge ahead together in the game of life. Just like the Milton Bradley board game of life. Anyone who's a Gen Xer like me will remember that game. I was more of a Monopoly man and Twister man myself. But right now, we're going to talk about life, not the board game of life, specifically pop culture history and life experiences that we all have in common. That's what this show, The Nostalgic Podblast, is all about. Anyone listening at Fistful of Radio out of Atlanta or on Apple Podcast or Podbean or Spotify, wherever you might be listening, I would encourage you to check out the video because I have a lot of video clips, which are still good audio content. I chose the clips very carefully to make sure it would have the listener in mind as well as the viewer. But listeners, you could go to the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube channel or the Facebook group. It's easier to find on YouTube. We're also on Twitch and Twitter, but after the fact, if you're hearing this after the fact in an audio platform, simplest thing to do is Google The Nostalgic Podblast. And right at the top, you'll see the YouTube channel, and click that, then click the live tab, and you'll see all these great game show hosts in a thumbnail image who are all sadly no longer with us. Then you'll know you're in the right place. Click that, and you can just scroll along. And I've been getting better when I have long shows at having little thumbnail, little marks, cue marks. So I'll, you know, if I mention someone like, say, Dennis James, who was a great game show host, who actually hosted the nighttime Price is Right, along with Tom Kennedy, but he did it before in the 70s, hosting the nighttime version of the Price is Right. We'll talk about him later. You can go specifically to what you're interested in. So there you go. And this, of course, is the Nostalgia Show with a bite. Welcome. I'm Chance Bartels, your host. Oh, as Steve Harvey says at the beginning of Family Feud, truly, we've got a good one for you. Now, the last 2 weeks of our weekly Nostalgic Podblast were devoted to comic books based on scripted television shows, and it occurred to me that it's been a while since we covered a classic game show topic together. And I don't want the wonderful game show people out there to feel neglected. So this edition will begin with a discussion about great deceased hosts of game shows. And actually, I'm going to start right away with trivia. I've got 8 questions of game show history trivia for you that are loaded with information and a few clips as we go along. I'm only going to feature 4 or 5 deceased game show MCs, Master of Ceremonies is what that stands for, in the interest of time. So this will be part 1 of an ongoing series. I hopefully will conclude it next week or the following week. I'm going to try to make it happen in 2 parts, but it might be a 3-parter. We'll see. I'm trying to shorten the length of the show. No one has the time to listen to a 6-hour show unless you listen in stages. So I've got some feedback that I should shorten the show. So that's what I'm going to try to do starting tonight. Also, we have some game show bloopers. I already mentioned that, I know. Interviews with your favorites and anecdotes. If you want to call in to talk or discuss anything nostalgic, the number is 770-438-1050. But tonight we want to talk about your favorite game show hosts who are no longer with us. So if someone says, you forgot Peter Marshall, well, he's still alive, knock on wood, in his 90s. Our friend of the show, Al Hardy, part-time co-host, knows Peter Marshall, the original host of the beloved NBC Hollywood Squares. Others have said, hey, what about Wink Martindale? He's not in your thumbnail picture. Well, Wink also, just like Peter Marshall, is still alive. Thank goodness. Born in Nashville, Tennessee, the great Wink Martindale. But you're welcome to call in or simply comment in the comment area of the Facebook live feed or the YouTube live feed, and I'll put your comment on the screen if you don't want to call in. So a quick disclaimer, because I have a lot of video to show you tonight. In terms of the video and audio clips that I'll present to you, I do not represent the owners of this material or any of its entities. This is a live educational interactive lecture for fellow fans of game shows and fans of nostalgia, which I earn no proceeds in any way from this presentation. I do not own these clips or musical cues. No rights were given or are implied. And I encourage you to purchase official releases of this material where applicable. As I have in the background, you'll see some DVDs of classic game shows from 2004 through 2006. I can put the picture on the screen. I took a photo for y'all. I want to show you what these look like to give you an example of materials that you can purchase on eBay. And they're not expensive. I wish there were more things released on DVD, but DVD is sort of being phased out by the big studios. But look, these are in my collection. There's the Best of the Price is Right, which has been out for many years. Best of Match Game, and then All-Star Family Feud. There's the front of those DVD sets, and there's the back. And they're awesome, and you can find them on eBay or Amazon. I think the Price is Right might be the most expensive of the lot. But man, that Family Feud set is hilariously entertaining and interesting because you have the casts of big-time beloved classic television shows playing against each other for charity. I highly recommend it. And to look at some of the folks we're going to talk about tonight, it's in the thumbnail image, which is right here. We're going to talk about 4 or 5 of these individuals and many more in the trivia, which we're going to start in just a second. Let me acknowledge some comments. Let's see here. Esmeralda's talking to Skeleton. And thank you, Sarah, for putting up the call-in number. 770-438-1050. She put it up in chat. That's always good. And I wonder if that's Jerry Dobson. Jerry on the side, Jerry with a G. He runs Nostalgia World on Facebook. He told me he's in the process of moving, and he mentioned that when he called in last week. So I don't know if he'll be with us or not. He already gave me the heads up. He may not be with us, but catch us on the replay, and you're always welcome to call in once you get settled. So let's now get started talking about some classic game show trivia and some history. Just want to get to my clips. There we go. And yes, okay. Let's start with some trivia. It's trivia time. Question 1 of 8 questions, and this will be for prizes. I'll go ahead and start with the prize question. Now, what you can win, I'll give you a choice of things to win. Now, game show people, my wonderful game show people out there, I don't know if these prizes will be interesting to you. I can't give away my DVDs. Those are the only ones that I own. I only have one set of each, but I have some really cool Batman 1989 Topps cards, which I think will increase in value. And I think they have some basic value already. You get 5. Each winner will get 5 of those cards mailed to you. All you have to do is be the first person to answer correctly in chat and say claim, C-L-A-I-M, claim, and you will win those 5 cards, or you can choose 5 grease cards. I wish I had something game show related that I could give you. 5 1978 Topps grease cards. These are kind of standard prizes, or I could get you a V, the original series mint condition comic book from DC Comics from way back in 1984. Just tell me what you want, and I'm going to have several prize questions. And how you get me your information is just email goldar3@aol.com with the mailing address, and I'll mail you your stuff. And hopefully last week's winner, I won't mention their name in case they don't want me to, received their prize, which I mailed Monday. This show is live on Friday. The last couple of weeks, it's been on the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, but we're back to Friday night in the rotation. I did that to accommodate Danny in South Carolina, who is a wrestling fan. He's got a lot of wrestling stuff he watches on Friday night. So question one of our trivia. The first game show on television in the USA was A, I've Got a Secret, B, You Bet Your Life, C, To Tell the Truth, D, Truth or Consequences, or E, Beat the Clock. While you're thinking, you've seen, of course, on Buzzer, I highly recommend Buzzer and the Game Show Network, GSN, in other words, it's otherwise known as GSN. They brand themselves each way, different points of times in history. You know, sometimes they're GSN, sometimes they're Game Show Network. They started in 1994, by the way, and they played more classic game shows than they do now. They have a lot of original content, which is very interesting, original game shows that they produce for their network. But I love Buzzer, which is a free over-the-air network. I'm allowing people time to Google cheat, as I have done in the past when I was live doing a trivia game show on the Game Show Network, GSN Live, a couple times. That reminds me, I need to play the second win. I've never put that on YouTube, and I have it in my collection. But anyway, I digress. Getting back to the trivia again, question one, the first game show on television in the United States of America was A, I've Got a Secret, B, You Bet Your Life, C, To Tell the Truth, D, Truth or Consequences, or E, Beat the Clock. Now let me look at chat. I think I've allowed enough time for people to guess, and let me know if you want to play for a prize. Let's see if anybody guessed anything. Hey, Snarky. Snark and Sass is here. Let's see here. If anyone guessed. And yes, there's the email address. Thank you, Sarah. That's where you email me where you want your prize to go to. And you pick a prize, 5 Grease cards, 5 Batman 1989 cards, or the comic book. Let's see. Okay, we have a guess from Esmeralda. She guesses You Bet Your Life. Snark and Sass. Check out her YouTube channel, by the way, and subscribe if you haven't already. She's hilarious, and she's got a big heart. She rescued a baby squirrel the other day, live on her YouTube channel. But she says, I have no idea. Sarah guessed E. Okay, well, let's go ahead and reveal the answer. The answer to this trivia question, going to back up. The first game show on television in the USA was... It was D, Truth or Consequences. The first game show on commercially broadcast TV was the 1940 game show Truth or Consequences. Now, Truth or Consequences was, of course, a quiz show originally hosted on NBC radio by Ralph Edwards from 1940 to 1957, and later on television by Ralph Edwards from 1950 to 1954. And then Jack Bailey hosted Truth or Consequences from 1954 to 1955. And then, of course, Bob Barker hosted Truth or Consequences from 1956 until 1975. And then Bob Hilton, who was a sub-announcer for game shows and other television shows, hosted Truth or Consequences, taking over from Bob Barker in 1975, and he hosted until 1978. And then Larry Anderson hosted a revival from 1987 to 1988. So Truth or Consequences, the television show, ran on CBS, NBC, and also in syndication, but never on ABC. And of course, Fox didn't exist yet. It didn't begin until 1986. Well, I guess they could have aired the revival from 87 to 88, but they weren't in the game show business then. Question 2. The first game show on TV or radio was what? And this will be a prize question since no one guessed question 1 correctly. The first game show on TV or radio was what? A, The Pop Question. That's POP, The Pop question, B, truth or consequences, C, beat the band, D, the Brooklyn Eagle quiz, E, Dr. IQ, or F, Professor Quiz. Repeating question 2, the first game show on television or radio was A, the pop question, B, truth or consequences, C, beat the band, D, the Brooklyn Eagle quiz, E, Dr. IQ, or F, Professor Quiz. Let me see if anyone has guessed correctly. Hey, and I'm looking at the comments. It is the Dean of Nostalgia World, Jerry Dobson, taking a break from his move. And Daniel Huff says, hello to everybody, including Esmeralda. Hello to you, sir. Esmeralda guessed beat the band. Let's see here. Daniel had guessed I've Got a Secret. Esmeralda, you bet your life. Okay, let's see what the answer is. Okay. The first game show on TV or radio was this one. The correct answer was D, the Brooklyn Eagle quiz. Historians widely regard a radio quiz show called the Brooklyn Eagle quiz, which was about current events, as the first game show. It debuted in 1923 on WNYC. It included trivia questions created by a local newspaper. Successful nationwide radio quiz shows followed in the 1930s, notably Professor Quiz and Uncle Jim's Question Bee. So Professor Quiz is the second oldest full-length game show ever to be broadcast in America. And it set the tone and format for many quiz programs that followed afterward. And it was a radio show. The quiz used in the questions submitted by the listeners and 5 audience members were selected as the contestants. The show was conducted by Professor Quiz. Real name, Arthur E. Braid, B-R-A-I-D, otherwise known as Dr. Craig Earl, E-A-R-L-E, like Duke of Earl. His second wife, Betty, and their son, Professor Quiz Jr., also participated. The show announcer was Robert Trout. The show's winner was rewarded with $25 in silver dollars. And the runner-up received 15 silver dollars. I loved silver dollars. I have several of them. Oh, man. So did my grandfather and grandma. They loved them. They used to go to Vegas, and they used to bowl in leagues, and they had a whole trophy filled with silver dollars. So did you know this, that the show became so popular that a home game was developed based on it? The home game went by the same name and was available as a free gift with the purchase of a liquid dentifrice called Teal. Now, in terms of the other choices that I gave you, the history of game shows goes back a long way. Although television played a significant role in popularizing this genre, some of these shows predate the invention of television as a medium. The root of game shows on broadcast media can be traced back to the 1920s. The first game show ever broadcast was the radio show called the Brooklyn Eagle Quiz on Current Events in 1923. As I just mentioned, the show was designed and conducted by the daily newspaper, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle. Around the same time, Time magazine broadcast current affairs quizzes on the radio to increase its readership and circulation. The show The Pop Question Game aired for 3 years from 1923 to 1926. Information on these early radio game shows is pretty limited. Therefore, in this list, I'll share with you of 10 of the oldest game shows. There's only included the full-length shows that were broadcast on recognized radio and television networks in the U.S. So ham radio didn't count. And podcasts didn't count. They weren't around then. So check this out. This list is not exhaustive. Other game shows might have aired around that time, but I couldn't include them in this list due to lack of available information. But here's what we do know. Truth or Consequences originally was released on March 23rd, 1940, running through February 26th, 1988. And it was on radio and television. It was presented by Ralph Edwards, whom I mentioned, Jack Bailey, Bob Barker, Steve Dunn, underdone. I'm sorry, Steve Dunne, Bob Hilton, and Larry Anderson. The first game show on commercially broadcast TV was the 1940 game show. Oh, wait a minute. That's the next question, isn't it? Wait, yep. Let me hold on this. Let me get to question 2. Question 2. Here's question 2. And we'll make this a prize question. Actually, is this question 2 or 3? I think I missed a number of my questions. Yeah, this is question 3. I did miss a number, dummy. So there might be 9 questions tonight. Chance, you big dummy. You big dummy. Question 3. Gosh darn it. Hold it. Yes. The first game show, God dang it. Wait a second. I'm really messing up badly. Wait a minute, guys. Let me just make sure All right. I'm going to ask this. The first game show, I did ask the first game show on television. Okay. I am really messing up badly. Sorry, y'all in chat and watching live or listening after the fact. I can go on and read my facts really quickly. I'm almost done with this factoid, and we'll get on to question 3. So, Truth or Consequences was the first game show on commercially broadcast TV. And that quiz show was originally aired and hosted on NBC Radio by Ralph Edwards. Already talked about that. Okay. All right, I'm repeating myself. I want to talk quickly about Beat the Band, which was released on January 28th, 1940, running through September 6th, 1944. That was a radio quiz show presented by Fort Pearson, then Marvin Miller, and Tom Shirley. Then you had that Dr. IQ. That was the other choice I gave in the multiple choice a moment ago. That was released on radio, or premiered on radio, on April 10th, 1939, airing until March 23rd, 1959. So it had a 20-year run. And it also was on television. So it was a radio and television program, Dr. IQ was. And it was presented by James McLean, Lou Valentine, Jay Owen, and the great Tom Kennedy, who was brothers with Jack Nars, another game show host. All right, let's get on with the next question. The first game show host in radio or television anywhere in the world was whom? Was it A, Freddie Griswold, B, Gene Rayburn, or C, Bud Collier? The first game show host in radio or television anywhere in the world was A, Freddie Griswold, B, Gene Rayburn, or C, Bud Collier. And this is a prize question. Let's see if anyone's guessed yet. Hello, Roughneck Redneck. Jerry Dobson is letting us know through the Facebook Live feed. You asked for it. Art Baker and much later Rich Little, the original You Asked For It host, was on the fledgling ABC television network from 1948 to 1956. And the Rich Little version of You Asked For It from 1975 to 1977. So we have a guess of Bud Collier. Esmeralda guesses Gene Rayburn. He looks old enough. Yes, he's been gone quite a while. I think since 1999, sadly. It killed him when he lost Match Game. Last time he hosted Match Game was in the Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour in 1984. So let me just re-ask the question again. The next question was, the first game show host in radio or television anywhere in the world was A, Freddie Griswold, B. Gene Rayburn, or C. Bud Collier? Well, the answer was Freddie Griswold, and he spells his first name like Freddie Mercury, F-R-E-E. I'm sorry, F-R-E-D-D-I-E. G, and his last name is Griswold, Grisewwood. He was the first game show host, and he was in radio. Let me show you his picture really quickly, and we'll talk briefly about him as we continue our trivia game. So let me go and show you his photo. I found a really cool photo of this gentleman who was credited by historians as the first game show host. Right there. There's Freddie. So this gentleman, Freddie, like Freddie Mercury, Griswold, first worked for the BBC over in England as an announcer in 1929. I said anywhere in the world, in radio or TV. So I'm not being tricky. I'm just being literal. Freddie Griswold first worked for the BBC as an announcer in 1929. In 1932, the Daily Express published his name along with those of several of his fellow announcers. Before that date, the BBC had required them to maintain on-air anonymity. In 1937, he was the commentator for the coronation of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. The first ever BBC live outside television broadcast was that coronation. The BBC had only taken delivery of its first outside broadcast unit, which consisted of several vans 2 days before the coronation. Although no one had any experience of operating it, it was placed at the top of Constitution Hill to catch the royal carriage as it went past. A message was sent to the king asking him to give a special wave for the camera. Griswold was the commentator, though, as the number of television sets and homes was still very small, probably less than 1,000. His audience would be for only a minute of time. He only had 1 minute to work with. He would recount, just as the royal carriage appeared in the distance, all of the equipment. Right then, as he was doing his recount, all the equipment failed. The engineer in charge swore on the air and gave it a hefty kick, and it all came to life again, so the day was saved at that moment for a 60-second report of the coronation and the carriage strolling by. So this guy, Freddie, he also commentated on the first televised broadcast of a tennis match at Wimbledon on June 21st, 1937. In 1938, he hosted the first UK game show, the 15-minute show titled Spelling Bee. As the name of the game suggests, it was played by having people spell words. Duh. Griswold was a good cricketer. He played cricket and played one first-class match against Oxford University at the University Parks in June 1908. Although the opposition won the game by a wide margin of 332 runs, Griswold made no significant personal contribution to his side's victory. He scored 1 and 6 not out, and neither bowed nor held a catch. Okay. Despite having played against his university at his first class level, he never appeared for it. Okay. This guy, Freddie, getting on to the next question, folks. This is kind of boring, I admit. But this is a historical show, educational show, so I like to present the facts to you. I mean, I learn as I research each week's edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. So Freddie Griswold continued to work as a freelance broadcaster well into the 1960s. He was chairman of a show called Any Questions from 1948 until 1967. Griswold died at the age of 84 in Greyshot, Hampshire on Wednesday, November 15th, 1972. The next question is very easy. It's a true or false question. True or false? Betty White hosted a game show. True or false? 50-50 shot at the answer. Let me look at chat. And about the technical glitch during the coronation, Sarah says, I understand how that flocking technology works. Esmeralda says, I saw the Queen coronation, and while it was beautiful, it was such a lot for just a one-day event. I agree. And I think it's funny how the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Di, I've mentioned this several times here on the Podblast, the ratings were greater for General Hospital's Luke and Laura, the fictional Luke and Laura wedding that same year, 1981, that Prince Charles and Lady Di were married. The ratings were better for General Hospital than the real thing. So let's see here. So the question is, Betty White hosted a game show, true or false? And Sarah says, with chance is never boring. Well, I appreciate that. I disagree. Esmeralda's telling Sarah, I saw it as a documentary. It's still available, I'm sure. So many jewels and carriages, etc. A lot of pomp and circumstance, right, Esmeralda? My flock guesses true. The question is, did Betty White host a game show? And Sarah guesses true. The answer is true. Good job. Good job. Now, here's question 4. The name of the game show that Betty White hosted was titled A, Musical Chairs, B, Just Men, C, Match Game 1990, or D, Triple Your Bucks. Repeating, the name of the game show that Betty White hosted was titled A, Musical Chairs, B, Just Men, C, Match Game 1990, or D, Triple Your Bucks. What do you say you? What do you think? About Betty White, Esmeralda says, Betty White was such a treasure and she is missed. Indeed, she is. She was great. I thought she'd make it to 100. She got so close. So close. Esmeralda guesses Just Men. Okay. I'll give anyone else a chance here. Give you an opportunity to answer. Again, the question is true or false. Betty White was a host of a game show. True or false? And Esmeralda guess true. Well, that was the previous question, and I asked what was the name of Betty White's game show. God, I'm effing up bad. Was it A, Musical Chairs, B, Just Men, C, Match Game 1990, or D, Triple Your Bucks? She's right, Esmeralda. It was Just Men. It did not last long, though. Just Men, It's Raining Men, aired on NBC daytime from January 3rd until April Fool's Day, 1983. So it lasted less than 3 months on that network. Betty White was the host, and she actually won a Daytime Emmy Award for her work hosting Just Men. Steve Day was the announcer of Just Men. I got a clip in just a second of Just Men, just the opening. It's just a very short clip. And in the show, it pitted 2 female contestants who were asked to predict answers to a series of yes-no questions posed previously to a panel of 7 male celebrities. The show was created and produced by Rick Rossner, who was producing the drama The Chips at that same time for NBC, which ran from 1977 to 1983 on NBC for 6 seasons. And also, it was a joint production of Rossner Television, Century Towers Productions, and Orion Television. So Just Men was one of 2 collaborations among the 3 entities by Rick Rossner. And Rossner was later responsible for reviving another NBC game show, The Hollywood Squares, which he co-produced with Century Towers and Orion Distribution. The general format of the game, in which the contestant determines whether a celebrity answers yes or no to a question, is similar to another game show, The Celebrity Game, which aired on CBS from 1964 to 1965. You remember The Celebrity Game? And as I said, in 1983, Betty White won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Game Show Host for Just Men, becoming the first woman to win the award. And she won that award over Richard Dawson on ABC and Dick Clark on CBS. So she beat 2 Dicks. Dick Clark and Dick Dawson. Okay, whatever. That was a bad joke, bad delivery. The very next year in 1984, Betty was also nominated again for the same Daytime Emmy Award, also for hosting Just Men, despite the fact that the show was long canceled by NBC by that point in time, and it aired for less than 3 months, and it was a ratings loser. Now, that year in 84, Bob Barker beat Betty, and Bob Barker also beat Richard Dawson in 1984 for that year's Daytime Emmy Award for Best Outstanding Game Show Host. Now I want to play a clip of the opening for Just Men, and it's kind of cool. It's got the original 1983 NBC promo right at the beginning. So let me find that, and it should be right here. Here it is. I like this little NBC promo. It's just 1.5 minutes long.
Just watch us now.
We're NBC. Just watch us now.
It's the most unusual game show in talk. This is Miss Jolene Hewlett, a cosmetologist from Irvine, California. This is Miss Tammy Grimaldo, a switchboard operator from Thousand Oaks, California. And from the greatest American hero, Mike Post. Nightclub comic, Charlie Callis. Football great, Bubba Smith. From Chip, Paul Link. And Tom Riley. From Mama's Family, Eric Brown. And from Shields and Yardell, Robert Shields. And Betty, why are we all here?
Because it's just men. And I'm your hostess, Betty White, your lucky hostess, Betty White. And Miss Thank You. And this key just, hello. This key, why don't you drop in sometime? This key just started this beautiful Ford Mustang convertible, and I'm going to mix it in with 6 other sets of keys that don't start the car. And then I'm going to go on over it so we can get a better look at our guest today. Just a minute. Hello.
I love Betty White. She reminds me of my mom. She's like America's mom or America's grandma, depending on your point of view. So that's how that show looked and sounded. It had kind of an uninspiring theme song, but, you know, it had Betty White. So there you go. It was, it didn't do very well. It was up against some really tough competition in daytime TV. Now let's continue with the trivia with our next question. The first black game show host was A, Nipsey Russell, B, Lynn Swann, C, Ahmad Rashad, or D, Adam Wade. And this is a prize question. And you can pick your prize. The Grease 1978 mint condition card, you get 5. The 5 1989 Batman cards, or a mint condition V, the series comic book. Again, the first black game show host who you saw in the thumbnail image. A lot of people asked, who is that gentleman? You're about to find out. Who's the black gentleman in that photo? The first black game show host was A, Nipsey Russell, B, Lynn Swann, C, Ahmad Rashad, or D, Adam Wade. What do you think? And the first person answers correctly and says claim will get a prize of your choice of those 3 that I mentioned. Let's see if anyone has guessed. Oh, Daniel guessed Nipsey Russell, Daniel Huff. Esmeralda guessed Nipsey Russell. Our good buddy in Southern California, Sarah, My Flock YouTube channel, also guessed A, Nipsey Russell. No, you are. Well, I'll reveal the answer. Anybody else care to? Jerry, are you still out there in Facebook Live land? Anybody else want to? Okay, who was the first black? I'll read it one more time. The first black game show host. Was it A, Nipsey Russell, B, Lynn Swann, C, Ahmad Rashad, or D, Adam Wade? Let's see. Okay, I'll go ahead and reveal the answer. It is Adam Wade. So I knew people would think Nipsey Russell. I was a little tricky with that. I knew if I put him in there, because he did do some game show pilots and some hosting. but it was actually Adam Wade. Now, Adam Wade was a versatile, velvet-voiced crooner who scored 3 consecutive Billboard Top 10 hits in a single year. He appeared in scores of films, plays, and TV productions. And in 1975, he became the first black host of a network national television game show. In May of 1975, CBS announced that it would, quote, break a network television racial barrier, unquote, by naming Mr. Wade as the master of ceremonies of a daily afternoon game show titled Musical Chairs. Staged at the Ed Sullivan Theater in Manhattan and co-produced by the music maestro Don Kirshner, the program featured guest musical performances with 4 contestants competing to complete the lyrics of songs and respond to questions about music. It's kind of like Name That Tune, right? Hosted by Tom Kennedy. We'll talk about that later or maybe next week. Among the guest performers were the group The Spinners and the singer Irene Cara when she was just getting started in show business. And I have a clip I'm going to play of her on Musical Chairs in just a moment. Musical Chairs didn't last long, though, sadly. It aired on CBS from June 16th, 1975 until Halloween Day, October 31st, 1975 on CBS. And that singer, Adam Wade, hosted, making him the first black African-American game show host of all time. Now, that novelty of a black MC was not universally embraced. A CBS affiliate in Alabama refused to carry the show, and hate mail poured in, including, Mr. Wade told Connecticut Public Radio in 2014, a letter from a man's, quote, saying he didn't want his wife sitting at home watching the black guy hand out the money and the smarts, unquote. Wow. What an a-hole thing to say from that Alabama guy. Damn, that's harsh. Anyway, the show was canceled after less than 5 months, but still, Mr. Wade said, quote, it probably added 30 years to my career, unquote. Adam Wade passed away at the age of 87 on Thursday, July 7th, let me do this again. Take 2. We're live show. Got to give proper respect. Adam Wade passed away at age 87 on Thursday, July 7th, 2022. Now let's look at the clip of Adam Wade in Musical Chairs that I found for you. There's not a lot out there. I don't know why. And I agree, Esmeralda, ignorance abounds. Absolutely. Terrible thing to say. Here's Irene Cara on Musical Chairs. The quality's not great, but that's all we have. That's all there is until someone digs into the vaults. Unless he's taped to erase, that was a common practice. A lot of the, most of the New York Tonight Show hosted by Johnny Carson shows were erased. And a lot of Hollywood Square shows were erased. Networks would reuse tape, which is a crying shame, until someone wised up and they stopped doing that. So this show may be gone. I don't know. Someone out there let me know. Maybe Buzzer could air it. But let's look at Irene Cara, a very young Irene Cara. And of course, you know, she had a hit record. She was in Fame, the movie and the television show, and she sang that tune. She passed away in 2023, sadly. She's no longer with us. And she also was in Flashdance. I mean, she sang What a Feeling. But let's look at her on Musical Chairs.
Who has already won $2,500 on the musical variety game show Musical Chairs with Derek Smith and the Musical Chairs Orchestra. And spotlighting our special guest for this week, showcasing today the 17-year-old award-winning actress, star of the soon-to-be-released film Sparkle sensational Irene Cara. And known to millions of daytime TV viewers as Joanne Tate Vincent, the versatile and charming Mary Stewart. And voted the #1 soul group in the world, the Atlantic Records star recording group, the extraordinary Spinners. And here's the host of Musical Chairs, our musical chairman, Adam Wade.
Let's play a game of musical chairs and give ourselves a round of applause. And that's it. opening day this week, we are presenting a new rising star who has never sung on network television before, and today's guest is Irene Cara, who joins our special guest this week, the Spinners and Mary Stewart, and they're all here to help you play your game. On yesterday's show, Jerry took over the championship. You picked it up, Carol. Your next song is 50 for 2, and maybe Jerry can get in a little faster, because here's Irene Cara with one of Sammy Davis's biggest hits. Irene, you look beautiful. Do it.
Who can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with dew, cover it with chocolate and a miracle or two, the candy man, oh, the candy man can, the candy man can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. He makes the world
Very nice, Irene. Anthony Newley wrote this delicious song for a... Very much. Appreciate it. Back to the game. Okay. It's 75 for 2, and Irene Cara is going to get us all going round in circles with this Billy Preston hit. Do it, Irene.
I've got a song, I ain't got no melody. I'm gonna sing it to my brain. I've got a song, I ain't got no melody. Yeah, I'm gonna sing it to my brain. So will it go round in circles? Yeah. And will it fly high like a bird up in the sky? Or will it go round in circles? Yeah. And will it fly high like a bird up in the sky?
Yes, is the next line. A.
Ain't got a lot of money, but that's my music.
Or B.
I need a little loving to make me happy.
Or C.
I've got a little story, ain't got no moral.
All right, Irene. It's $75 for 2. There are 3 of you. At the end of this song, there will only be 2. Your next song, $100 for the first 2 of you to lock the right answer into the machine, and I got a crush on Irene Cara, particularly when she sings this one by Gershwin.
I've got a crush on you, sweetie pie, of the day and night time. Hear me sigh.
I never had the least notion that I would fall with so much emotion.
Could you cool? Could you care?
Is the next line. A.
In a cozy castle in the air.
Or B.
For a sunny cottage we could share.
Or C.
For a case of kumquats or eclair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Irene. It is $100 for 2. Congratulations to you, Ronnie. You're our new champ. Time has run out for today, so we'll have to come back on our next show and play your bonus round. And while we're doing that, I'd like to thank the incredible Irene Cara, and we'll have another rising star for you on our next show. And thanks to our special guests for the rest of the week, the lovely, marvelous Mary Stewart and the superb Spinners. So you all join us when we get together with Derek and the guys in the band as we sing once again. Let's play a game of musical chairs.
Contestants on musical chairs have been selected in advance and advised of the rules of the game. Additional musicians for the Spinners under the direction of Maurice.
What do you think? I thought that was kind of cool. You can see why there might be a problem airing it because of music rights, just like Name That Tune. And on Name That Tune, I'm all over the place. I'm digressing, but sort of staying on topic. A show similar to that, you had Kathy Lee Johnson singing like Irene Cara was there. Later, of course, from Regis and Kathy Lee, that Kathy Lee. but then she was Kathy Lee Johnson. So I thought that was kind of a cool clip, even though the quality was not great. Hello to Beth Meadows. How you doing? Thanks for joining our little party. We're talking about some deceased game show hosts, and we're playing trivia right now. Let me look at some comments that were flying by as I played that clip. That was a 5-minute clip. And that's all I could find of musical chairs out there. Why am I talking like this? I'm like a mimic. I'm talking like the whole. She was awesome. Such a great singer, Irene Cara, pure talent. Absolute. That's when people could really sing. And there are some now that can, like Adele and several others. So I don't mean to be, knocking everybody in current music, but it just seemed like people had a little bit more talent back then. Hello back at you, Beth. I know I said, hey, but there's your comment where she said hi to me. All right. Let me now continue with our trivia game. And let's see. Here's the next question. And this will be a prize question, so you can select your prize. I've already said several times what the 3 prizes are. At the end, I'll reiterate that. But all you have to do is be the first person to answer correctly and say claim, C-L-A-I-M, claim. Spelling doesn't really count, but claim, and you'll get that prize of your choice. The following master of ceremonies, MC for short, or host, if you will, never hosted a version of Password before, the game show Password. Okay. The following master of ceremonies never hosted a Password game show. A, Tom Kennedy, B, Bill Cullen, C, Regis Philbin, D, Hugh Downs, or E, Kiki Palmer. The following master of ceremonies never hosted a version of Password, the game show, before. Never hosted it. A, Tom Kennedy, B, Bill Cullen, C, Regis Philbin, D, Hugh Downs, or E, Kiki Palmer. And let's see what anyone guessed in the chat. No one's guessed yet. Hugh Downs guesses Esmeralda. I spoke too soon. And Daniel Huff guessed Hugh Downs. Let's see if anyone else. Beth Meadows says Hugh, maybe. Well, there ain't no maybe about it. You are right. You are absolutely right. It was Hugh Downs. Tom Kennedy took over permanently from Alan Ludden, who sadly passed away from cancer in 1981. But while he was still undergoing treatment, you had Bill Cullen first take over in 1980 from Alan Ludden on Password Plus and NBC. And then Tom Kennedy after Bill Cullen on a permanent basis until the end of its run in 1981. 82, actually, 1982, early 82. And then Regis Philbin, he hosted CBS's revival of Password, $1 million Password. They were trying to cash in on his success on hosting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on ABC in the year 2000. But that CBS screwed up and they didn't have a regular time slot. They shuffled it around. And I thought it was a pretty good version. Of course, Betty White played on the Regis Philbin version in 2008, 2009. But yeah, the correct answer was Hugh Downs. Kiki Palmer is the current host of Password. Now I have a clip. I can't play NBC. Actually, Comcast Universal NBC owns the current version of Password, and Jimmy Fallon is the executive producer, and he appears on that show. But Kiki Palmer is the host, and I actually met her and interacted with her. I'm going to show you a clip of her and I, and I'll put that comment on the screen. That's the address to email me where you want your prize to go to. Goldar3, GOLDAR number 3 at AOL.com. Or also for feedback, as Sarah points out, my flock in Southern California, if you just want to chat or have a question. So that was a prize question, right? Didn't I say that? So I guess Esmeralda was the first person to answer. And if you want to defer your prize to Daniel, that's up to you. I know you got your grease card. You're eligible. But let me play a clip now of Kiki Palmer and myself. Now, this is a movie I did called Joyful Noise, where I played Dolly Parton's son. I'm right next to her in the scene. And behind me is Kiki Palmer. And I want to play some of the different openings to Password. Let me play this really quickly. Where did I put that little clip? You'll see Keke Palmer is next to Queen Latifah. Her real name is Dana Owens, of course, right behind me. Here it is. Now, this is only 54 seconds long, and then we'll get to the game show fun and more of the trivia.
Friends, we are here today to celebrate the memory of Bernard Sparrow, beloved husband, cherished father and grandfather. With his last breath, he led our choir to victory in the regional semifinals. Let the church say amen. Amen. Bernard loved life, and he knew how to live it. Isn't that right, Gigi?
The man had 5 kids. He must have learned something.
God judges a man on 2 things, and 2 things alone: on his faith and on the contents of his heart. And Bernie, we will miss that heart each and every day.
Yeah, the director, Todd Graff, thought I looked a little like Chris Christopherson, who was supposed to be my dad. And anyway, so you saw Keke Palmer behind me. She had longer hair then. She's had her first child recently. She sang at the Super Bowl. I mean, what a career. Oh, no, she sang at the World Series in Houston, Texas in 2021 against my Atlanta Braves. Yeah, Houston Astros versus Braves. And she sang in Houston. Yeah. And gosh, and now she's the host of Password. Now let's look at some openings to Password that I've mentioned. I can't play the original 1962, the Alan Ludden classic Password theme. I think the copyright bots will get me, but I can play 28 seconds of his revival on ABC. And here's Alan Ludden talking about the end of Password on ABC. This is from the very last episode of Password on ABC.
Hi, I'm Alan Ludden, and these are the contestants who are going to be playing today with Kate Jackson and Sam Melville. And for the last time on ABC, the name of your game is Password. Okay.
Yeah, I had to sneak that kiss in. They were good at kissers, these game show hosts like the Gene Rayburns and, of course, Richard Dawson and Alan. But look how lovely Kate Jackson was. That was when she was on The Rookies before Charlie's Angels. Very cool. All right, now here is, he wasn't off the air for long because in 1979, this version of Password began. I've already referenced Password Plus. And look who's playing in the very first episode. The quality of this clip isn't great. There is better out there, but there's 43 seconds. Hopefully you can handle it for 43 seconds.
It's more than Password. It's Password Plus. Our guest stars, Elizabeth Montgomery and Robert Foxworth. And here's the star of Password Plus, Alan Ludden.
Password's back. Password's back. It's Password Plus. Plus 2 of Password's very best friends, Elizabeth Montgomery and Robert Foxworth.
Yep, and they were a couple at the time. I remember I first saw that Foxworth guy in The Omen, Damien Omen Part 2. Chilling performance. But let's talk about game shows. Here's another clip of Password Plus, and there was a clip I couldn't find. I have it in my collection. It's kind of sad. Betty White slipped on some stairs and twisted her ankle, and for several episodes after that, it no longer showed the celebrity players going down those stairs. They would just be in there sitting down at the desk to play the game because Betty had stumbled. But now here is what I love, what they would do on Password Plus sometimes, is have actors in character playing for charity. Look who's playing this time on Password Plus.
It's more than Password, it's Password Plus. It's an all-celebrity week. From Lobo, Brian Kerwin as Birdie. From the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Betty White as Sue Ann Nivens, the Happy Homemaker. From Chips, Robert Pine as Sergeant Joe Cottrell. from the Dukes of Hazzard, Denver Pyle as Uncle Jesse. And here's the host of Password Plus, Tom Kennedy.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. All right. Hi, hon. How are you? Uncle Jesse. That's good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 4 of your favorite stars from 4 of your favorite series playing all this week here on Password Plus for their favorite charities, and we are having great fun, and I'm glad you could all join us today. And when we left you last time, Sue Ann Nivens and Uncle Jesse had racked up an impressive $100 in this particular game. And they're, of course, playing against, from Chip, Sergeant Joe Gautreaux, Robert Pine, and from Lobo, Birdie himself, Brian Kerwin. And that's, of course, Deputy Birdwell Hawkins.
Yes.
Reporting for duty. Now, you guys got your work cut out for you. It's 100-0.
Real good.
This one here, however, is a $100 puzzle, and it goes to Sergeant Joe Gautreaux and to Sue Ann Nivens. Now, Sergeant Joe, option is yours. You want to pass or play?
I will pass.
All right, Sue Ann.
Or give it to me, Sue Ann. What I mean is say the word.
Mouse.
A little mouse.
No, Sergeant Joe.
I was going to say something else, but I don't think it is.
Sound.
Squeak.
That's good for squeaky. It's squeaky. Squeaky. Yeah. All right, Birdie, it's your crack at that. Squeaky is the clue. What's the puzzle?
Door?
Well, is it door? Nope, it isn't. Sergeant Joe and Sue Ann. Sergeant Joe, pass or play?
Pass.
All right, Sue Ann.
Baritone.
Voice.
Yes.
Hot dog.
Just go with it there, Uncle Jesse. All right, Uncle Jesse Duke, you got squeaky and you got voice. What does that give you for a puzzle?
Squeaky voice.
Nothing. Okay, we'll see what develops
What do
here.
they call that?
Sue Ann.
I pass.
Oh, Sergeant Joe Gautreaux.
Swirl. World.
Nope. Sue Ann.
Hair.
Permanent?
Nope. Back to Sergeant Joe.
Bovine. Buffon?
No. Clever, but it...
Cowlick.
Yeah, that's it, cowlick. Bovine for the cow. See how tricky he was? Cowlick. Uncle Jesse, you got squeaky voice and cowlick.
I know. It's, oh, that kid.
All right, Sue Ann.
Oh, I know.
You got it, Sergeant Joe. Sue Ann, pass or play?
I'll play.
Okay.
Small.
Tiny.
Nope. Sergeant Joe.
Small. Little.
Aha. All right, guys, that puts you back in control here now. All right, Birdie. Squeaky voice, cowlick, and little.
Alfalfa.
Is it alfalfa? Yeah, there you go. And he was one of the rascals. From the Little Rascals. Yeah, they're well done.
What's the score, though? Now,
well, he had it, but he just couldn't remember the guy's
Well,
name.
is that the character you were trying to think of, or were you thinking of a different one?
No, I was thinking of Skeezix.
Oh, Skeezix. Yeah, he has a cowlick, too.
Yeah. But he's before your time.
I don't remember any of these.
She doesn't see.
I don't remember him at all.
No.
In answer to your question, though, Uncle Jesse, the score is 100 to 100. That means we have a $200 puzzle coming up right after these words.
Squeaky like my voice, squeaky.
Oh, that clip was a little long, but I thought it was pretty interesting and kind of funny. I like seeing them in character, and Patty Duke did it in that same year. Appeared as Patty and Kathy Lane, which was kind of tricky on videotape, where they did split screen when she'd walk into the shot at the beginning. Now here's a much shorter clip, just a minute long. The final episode of Password Plus. Tom Kennedy's giving the final farewell.
Well, I'm very happy that everyone is leaving the winner. We have to leave you for a while. As I said a little while back, incidentally, earlier in the week, I said this thing is coming. Look at the whole podium is coming apart. So I guess the show is going off the air just in time. This is the last in our series of Password Plus. And even though our dear friend Alan Ludden isn't with us at this particular moment, as you well know, he hosted this show as only he could do for something like 18 years. And so I was very proud to have the last year and a half here at the helm. All I can say is, you know, the show's going to be back soon. So until then, on behalf of all of the people with Goodson Todman, who have the best staff in the entire world, NBC, the best network, I don't care what anybody says, we got a crew around here that just simply cannot be beat. There are too many people to bring up on stage. I'd love to do it, but I wouldn't know all the names anyway. I'm so bad. It's just awful. It has been absolutely terrific. So what we want to say to you, though, is thank you for being the great friends you have been through all 20 years. It'll be back soon, and we'll all look forward to seeing you again real soon. On behalf of all of us, bye for now, and be good to yourselves.
Yeah, that was March 26th, 1982, but just a couple years after that, it returned again with Super Password, hosted by Bert Convy from Tattletale. Play your bloody pipe, fool. Flute, fool. What was that line in Flash Gordon, the 1980 movie? I digress. But that was Super Password, also on NBC. And it debuted on September 24th, 1984. And it ran through March 24th, 1989. And just a couple years after that, Bert Convy would die from brain cancer, unfortunately, in 1991. But there's that. Now I want to play the opening to the Regis Philbin. Is that your final answer? Version of Password called $1 Million Password. Right now, just the opening. And let's see here. It lasted 2 seasons, but it was just so damn sporadic. It debuted on June 1st, 2008. And it last aired on June 14th, 2009, but it just was not in a regular time slot. So that never helps, right? But here's how that opening went. It's just 19 seconds. Not much to that theme. Not much at all. And I got some game show bloopers coming up, but let's continue with the trivia. People like to play trivia and play along. And then I got some great comedy from Paul Lynde and Hollywood Squares and a whole bunch of other game show stuff for you tonight. Excuse me. Okay, which of these hosts, MCs actually, which of these MCs, and I wrote these questions. I didn't get this off the internet. I wrote these. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying. This is a prize question. So anyone that gets this correctly and first answers correctly in the chat on either Facebook Live or YouTube Live or Twitter or Twitch, and I see it and I'll put it up on the screen and says claim, will get your choice of a prize. 1989. These have value, by the way. Topps Batman cards. I know they're not game show related. I know. That's all I've got to give tonight. Or 1978 Grease cards. Or a comic book, a mint condition comic book. DC, their version of V with the lizard aliens. Remember the miniseries V? Anyway, let's get on with the game. So the question is this. Which MC never hosted the game show Concentration of this list? Which of these MCs never hosted the game show Concentration? A, Jack Barry, B, Alex Trebek, C, Jack Nars, D, Ed McMahon, E, Bob Clayton, or F, Bud Collier? Repeating. Which of these MCs never hosted the game show Concentration? A, Jack Barry, B, Alex Trebek, C, Jack Nars, D, Ed McMahon, E, Bob Clayton, or F, Bud Collier? And this is a prize question. Let me look at the chat. We're back. What, did the thing go down? I wasn't aware of that. Let's see here. Hey, I apologize. Anyone watching on YouTube? We'll be back following station identification, said Daniel Huff. He's already won a prize. Just email Goldar3 at AOL.com. I'll put it on the screen in a minute. Jim's camera at dawn while I was down. I didn't even know I was down. Said, pay the light bill. And he said, wrong button. Oh, man, I didn't even know. I was oblivious there. Oblivious. Hey, Lance, hey, man, I'm sorry about the other night on Sarah's channel. That wasn't my doing. I owe you an apology. I should have asked you questions, brought you in on the replay. I don't replay myself, hate watching myself, but I did scan through it to make sure the audio was good. And I realized I kind of left you out, so I apologize about that. And also, Sarah and I were wrong about a bit of trivia. On the replay of the clip from James Install's Geek to Me Radio from last Sunday night, I do think his guest actually said, Amber, I like your hair, Amber, not I like your hair, Mary Smith, but that's another story, just for some continuity. So now let me see here. If anybody guessed the trivia, I have no idea. Sorry, says Jerry. Daniel Huff guessed Ed McMahon. Esmeralda guessed Ed McMahon. Esmeralda also says Paul Lynde, Hollywood Squares was so good. I know. And it's not running anywhere, not since like 2000 on the Game Show Network. It's really crazy how that's never, and the tapes are, not all the tapes were erased. I even like the John Davison hosted version of Hollywood Squares, but of course nobody beats Peter Marshall. So again, repeating the question, which MC never hosted the game show Concentration? A, Jack Barry, B, Alex Trebek, C, Jack Nars, D, Ed McMahon, E, Bob Clayton, or F, Bud Collier? Since there might have been a delay, I'm going to just stall a little bit longer and see if anyone guessed. I know, brother. Jim's camera at Don says, Chance, I hope you know that was my attempt at humor. It was funny. I get it, man. No, I know. All right. I don't think anyone knows this. We'll just do another prize question in just a minute. The correct answer was F, Bud Collier. Bud Collier. So, veteran game show host Jack Barry and his producing partner Dan Enright, along with Robert Noah and Buddy Piper, created Concentration. But others working at Barry and Enright Productions also contributed to the show's development. I love the board game of Concentration. It had little rollers with the puzzle, the Revis puzzle that you'd have to solve. It's a great memory game. I love Concentration as a board game and as a game show. It's one of my favorite game shows that it needs a revival. It's been since 1991 since it's been on the air. In new episodes. NBC kept it on the schedule until I think early 1994, but they're playing reruns. Anyway, let me get on to really quickly, just a paragraph. This won't be long-winded about Concentration. The full end credit roll after the NBC takeover had a title that read, Based on a Concept by Buddy Piper. The creation involved the combination of two key creative concepts: the children's game of matching cards, also known as Concentration, and the use of a rebus puzzle that was revealed as matching cards were removed from the board. In place of the playing cards, the game board featured a board consisting of 30 trillions or three-sided motorized boxes with numbers on the first of their three sides. There were prizes that were to be matched. On the second was the puzzle place, And the gradual matching of the card pair slowly revealed elements of that rebus, which is a picture puzzle drawn by an artist. The show was broadcast on and off from 1958 until 1991 in terms of new episodes presented by various hosts, and has been made in several different versions. And Milton Bradley produced that board game, and they would have updated editions like they do with, or used to do with their board games that they would produce. Original network daytime Concentration appeared on NBC for 14 years, 7 months, and 3,770 telecasts between August 25th, 1958 and March 23rd, 1973, making it the longest continuous run of any game show on that network, NBC. Concentration was hosted by Hugh Downs and later Bob Clayton. But for a 6-month period in 1969, Ed McMahon hosted the series. The show began at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, then moved to 11, and finally to 10:30 in the morning. Nearly all episodes of the NBC daytime version were produced at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in New York City. Now I want to play a little bit of some footage from Concentration, and I'll get caught up on the comments, but let me find where I pulled it. Oh yeah, down here. This is kind of interesting to me about the classic Concentration hosted by Alex Trebek from 1987 until 1991 in terms of new episodes. Goodson Todman Productions actually was just a Mark Goodson production at that point. He'd already separated from Bill Todman. Goodson Productions recycled music from this game show hosted by Tom Kennedy. And this is what they call a ticket plug, where they would encourage people to join the studio audience. And they also use this music. It was new music at the time back in 1984 for a contestant plug, where they'd say, if you'd like to be a contestant, you'll be in the Southern California area, call blah, 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 555, blah, blah. Here, listen to this. It's 35 seconds long. I hate it when people do that. Just like Kimmer says, listen to this. But this is the body language ticket plug. And you'll hear the familiar classic Concentration theme that they recycled 3 years later in 1987.
Okay. Johnny, I want to ask you something about tickets. I hate to bother you, John. I know that you're busy over there, but we've had people asking us if they can get tickets to this show.
No kidding.
And I keep telling them, I said, I don't know. I asked Johnny for everything. What's the story?
Well, it's very easy, Tom. All they have to do to be a member of our studio audience here on Body Language is to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Tickets, Body Language, 7800 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90036. And here again is Tom Kennedy.
Thank you, Johnny.
See, and that was reused in this show. Yeah, I know. YouTube went down. I think I'm still up on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. Sorry, YouTubers. Oh, and I saw that Jerry had requested Groucho Marx. I have some Groucho Marx content. I just was going to finish up the trivia question, give away a few of these cards before we went to remembering some awesome hosts who are no longer with us that we all remember. And most of these people were from before our time. So, as I said, Classic Concentration was broadcast between 1958 and 1991 on and off by NBC. So that was your answer. The trivia question was, which MC never hosted the game show Concentration? A, Jack Barry, B, Alex Trebek, C, Jack Nars, E, Ed McMahon, E, Bob Clayton, or F, Bud Collier. And the answer, of course, was Bud Collier, as you heard in that piece I read where Ed McMahon hosted it in 1969. Who knew, right? I knew, but did you know? And I would love to find some footage of Ed McMahon hosting Concentration. I don't know. Now, I got some text coming through. Oh, shucks. Yeah, I know. Hopefully it'll be back on in a minute. This is so bad because I keep going. When it goes down on YouTube, I've got to keep going for Facebook Live and for the listeners too. So, man, that's too bad. Let's get on with the trivia question. This is a really tough question. And this is the final question. And then we'll get to what most of you care about, the hosts. What was the first U.S. game show televised in color? This is a very difficult question. And I need your input. I want to know if you know the answer to that. What was the first game show to be televised in color? Not first television show. I'm not talking about like Bonanza, which wasn't the first show in color, by the way. Just want to know, what was the first game show that was televised in color? Let me see. And I got to see if I'm back on. Oh, no. I don't know if I'm back on. Beth Meadows says, Chance, if you go away again, I want my money back. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Let me just check one thing real quick, because I have another clip I do want to play from Concentration. And that show, Body Language, where I played the ticket plug from, that was recycled as the theme to Classic Concentration. I was going to play a little bit of the theme to that show, and now I'm scared to do it. But this is kind of funny. That show, Body Language, where the ticket plug and the contestant plug was recycled for the theme to Classic Concentration, it had an entirely different opening theme and closing theme. And you could tell this is 1984. Michael Jackson's Thriller was huge and had been for several years. And I think this theme, I'll just play a little bit of it because I don't want the stream to go down on the YouTube side again. It sounds like a Michael Jackson song, like, you want to be starting something, got to be starting something. Think about that. Think about that song and the beat. Listen to this. This was the theme to Body Language in stereo. Be starting something. Anyway, it sounds like a Michael Jackson inspired piece of music, or his band anyway. So I better stop that, so that in case the damn stream goes down. I just played a couple bits while you were gone, YouTubers watching live, of Classic Concentration. I want to play now. I think this will be okay. Just the bonus is just a couple minutes long of a bunch of screw ups during the bonus round of Classic Concentration. Check out all the screw ups. And then, Jerry, we're going to talk about Groucho Marx. This is the final the final question, in case you didn't hear. Damn, I'm all over the place. I was waiting for y'all to come back on the YouTube side. Here's the final trivia question for this week's installment. Part 1 of our favorite game show hosts who are no longer with us, who are deceased. What was the first U.S. game show to be televised in color? Well, you tell me, because there's no definitive answer, at least not that I could find. What I did find is a message board discussion from way back in 2004. And here are some of the excerpts. Some say that, quote, the first color game show telecasts would have been the What's My Line experimental broadcasts from 1954 to 1955 or so. I doubt they were preserved in color, as few color TV sets existed, and black and white kinescopes served the general purpose, unquote. Now, what kinescopes were, it was just literally where a camera would be set up, a film camera, 16 millimeter film, and it would film a monitor in the studio. And they also would use that process coast to coast to televise a live show. And that's what Jackie Gleason did with the Honeymooners hidden episodes, or lost episodes, if you will, of skits from the Jackie Gleason show. Those were kinescopes. So they didn't do color kinescopes. They were in black and white. So that's what this guy claims. And then others say, in terms of what was the first color game show, this person says, quote, my TV guide collection goes back to 1956, but the first game show listed as being regularly in color at that time was NBC's primetime Break the $250,000 Bank in the fall of 1956. Interestingly, while I was looking this up, I noticed TV Guide had a blurb about a new game show for kids to start in January of 1957 on ABC titled Penny for Your Thoughts, to be hosted by Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, unquote. Then this is the last piece I want to read about this question. I have no idea what the definitive answer is. What was the first color game show? Found this, quote, NBC was the first network to push for color transmissions. I think they were owned by RCA at one time. Yes, they were, who had a stake in color television sets. Quite a few NBC shows, daytime and nighttime, were regularly broadcast in color, even starting in the late 1950s, while the other networks stayed mostly black and white until the mid 1960s. Yeah, you had The Adventures of Superman switched to color, Bonanza, which I already mentioned. Sure did. And there was one episode of Hazel titled What Are We Gonna Watch Tonight? That was in color. And then that show eventually went to color, of course, but years later. But back in season one, there's an episode that only one episode of Hazel was in color in season one. So ABC, according to this gentleman, was more reluctant to go to color, partly because of the increased cost it brought. Your host, Chance Bartell's interjecting here, just like Irwin Allen on the production side. You know, he should have done season one of Lost in Space in color. He'd already converted Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea on ABC in color that same year, 65, 66, when Lost in Space debuted. He just shot some special effects sequences in color to be used later on when Lost in Space went to color, but not the entire pilot. At least that's what they say. Getting back to this gentleman, while they, quote unquote, switched to full color in prime time in 1966, ABC, most of their daytime lineup remained in black and white through the late 1960s. In fact, when shows like Bewitched and The Fugitive were seen in daytime repeats, ABC showed the color episodes of those series in black and white. It wasn't until January 1970 that ABC had aired their full daytime lineup in color. That makes sense. I'm a film collector, and I have a lot of episodes from ABC daytime of My Three Sons. Well, that was CBS. Of ABC Bewitched that are black and white of color. Interesting. And I hate that. I don't like black and white of color. I want it to be in color. Our friend Al Hardy says, well, I like black and white of color because watching a faded color print hurts my eyes. I'm sorry, Al. I know that's not how you sound. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm just joshing here. Let's finally get to start remembering some of our favorite game show hosts in the USA on television who are now sadly deceased. And we're going to start with Groucho Marx. And I want to play a clip now of Groucho. And hopefully this won't be an issue now that the bots are on me in their seek and destroy mission. But here is a nice interview of Groucho Marx just for you, Jerry, and for anyone out there who cares about Groucho Marx like I do. And then we'll talk about him. But here's the great Groucho Marx in a rare interview.
There's a photograph here that came out of your book, not this
My
one,
mother
the previous one.
in the back there.
Yeah, but this is the caption on it is the Marx Brothers, Harpo, me, and Chico, valiantly attempting to amuse Irving Thalberg. Now he was the great
Look
producer.
at the other side.
Now this leads into a question. There are a lot of legends about you, and a lot of the remarks that you've made, whether they're true or not true. And one of the stories that came to me a long, long time ago is the first time you got to Hollywood. You had a date with a very important producer. I think the head of the studio. It may have been
change it to a girl. Huh?
No, it may have been Thalberg, and they let you into his private office. He wasn't there, and by the time he came in, they were the four of you completely stark naked. Now, is that a legend or is that true?
No, it was true.
Well, tell me that story. That's ridiculous.
Well, you know, Thalberg, like Sinatra, was.
Oh, this was Thalberg.
This was Thalberg, yes. He was the most feared man of any producer in any major studio. And he wasn't feared because he wasn't a nice guy, but he was so powerful because he was so talented. And he was so great at his own business. He was a legend, this man. He died at 37, you know. Everybody was afraid of him. Now, after we had done 5 pictures at Paramount, and we'd done a couple at RKO, I think, and then Chico used to play bridge every night with Thalberg, because Chico was a great bridge player, and Thalberg was crazy about Chico. But the first time, we eventually signed up, after Duck Soup, we signed up with Thalberg. Now, he says, come to the office tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, and we'll have an initial talk about what we're going to do. So we got there at 11. Now, at that time, he was doing 3 pictures, and he had, very important, he had Bob Sherwood working on something in one room. He had Mark Connolly and somebody else working in another room, and we were going into his private office, which, that picture there. He had a huge fireplace there. It was a very imposing-looking place for fellows who had been in vaudeville all their life. And we got there at 11 o'clock, then 11:30 came, 12 o'clock. We're in the outer office. Now, he's running from these 3 different rooms, conferring with Bob Sherwood and the other people who were working for him. I don't recall their names. And we were sitting there. It was 1 o'clock. We went out to lunch. We come back at 2. We sat in the outer office. We sat there till 3, 4. At 5 o'clock, he sent out word that we could go home and come back the next day at 11 o'clock. Now, we hadn't seen him. Next day, we arrived at 11 o'clock. And around 2 that afternoon, we were ushered into his place. And me, I'm always big-mouthed, you know. I said, look, Mr. Thalberg, I said, we start on Broadway in 3 plays. And we're considered very good comedians. And we've done 5 pictures at Paramount. And if you ask us to come here at midnight for a story conference, we'll be here at midnight. But when you ask us at 11 o'clock in the morning, we want you to see us at 11 o'clock in the morning, or otherwise there's no deal with you at all. And nobody had ever spoken to him that way. Even Mayer was afraid of him. So he never kept us waiting after that. We had a meeting at 2 o'clock, or 12 o'clock, whatever it was. But now we would get in his office at 11 o'clock, and he would start a preliminary conversation about a story, a picture. And then at 11:30 or 12 o'clock, he'd say, look, I have to go over and talk to Bob Sherwood for a few minutes. I'll be back. He did this 2 or 3 times, and he didn't come back till around 2 o'clock. Now we were, instead of waiting outside, we were waiting in his office. So around the 4th time he did this, when he went out to see Sherwood or somebody, we took all those files, those steel files in the office, you know, where they keep the records and everything, and we stacked them up against the 2 doors, 2 different entrances, and he couldn't get in. And we didn't leave him in until 5 o'clock. So he laughed at that because now he had respect for us. So the next time we had a meeting with him, again we started to talk about, I think it was Night at the Opera, the first picture, and he left again to see, I don't know, Mark Connolly or somebody else. And when he went out, we lit a fire in the fireplace, a huge fireplace, and we sent to the commissary and we got 8 baked potatoes. And we lit the fire. We had a roaring fire going. We took off all our clothes. And when he came back, we were sitting in front of the fireplace, toasting these baked potatoes. And after that, he loved us because nobody ever cracked a joke around him. Everybody was so afraid of him. And we were playing the Katzenjammer Kids for him. And it turned out very effective.
Pretty cool little clip, I think. I gotta look at the comments here in just a second. So let's just talk a little bit about Groucho Marx. This isn't going to be like the biography channel, A&E biography channel of yesteryear. I'm not going to put everyone to sleep with this, but he was very important. So his real name was Julius Henry, quote unquote, Groucho Marx, born on October 2nd, 1890. Now, his show, You Bet Your Life, debuted. And hello to James Install, Geek to Me Radio. He's watching on Facebook Live. Hello to Omar. Won't mention your last name. I know you don't want your name out there. Hello to you and everyone else that's in the Facebook Live feed. But Groucho Marx, of course, hosted You Bet Your Life. And it debuted in October 1947 on ABC Radio, which aired it from 1947 to 1949, sponsored by costume jewelry manufacturer Alan Gelman. And then it ran on CBS from 1949 to 1950, and finally on NBC. You Bet Your Life was on radio only from 1947 to 1950, but it was on both radio and television from 1950 to 1960, and on television only from 1960 to 1961. The show proved to be a huge hit, being one of the most popular on television by the mid-1950s, garnering a #1 rating in 1953. With George Fenneman as his announcer and straight man, Groucho Marx entertained his audiences with his wit and improvised conversation with his guests. Since You Bet Your Life was mostly ad-libbed and unscripted, although writers did pre-interview the guests and feed Marx some ready-made lines in advance, the producers insisted that the network pre-record it instead of it being broadcast live. There were 3 reasons for this. 1, pre-recording provided Marx with time to fish around for funny exchanges, and any intervening dead spots could be edited out, and most importantly, to protect the network from what was considered risque, since Marx was notorious for being a loose cannon and known to say almost anything. The television show ran for 11 seasons until it was canceled in 1961. Ironically, longtime major sponsor Automobile Marquis de Soto went out of business for declining sales that same year. For the De Soto ads, Groucho Marx would sometimes say, "Tell him Groucho sent you," or "Try De Soto before you decide," on a car to buy. In the mid-1970s, episodes of the show were syndicated and rebroadcast as The Best of Groucho. Groucho Marx was hospitalized with pneumonia on June 22nd, 1977. And he died there at the hospital at Cedars Sinai Medical Center nearly 2 months later at the age of 86 on August 19th, 1977. Now we'll move on to the next classic MC, kind of going in chronological order here. I just have a few more. This isn't going to be a 6-hour show. I decided we're going to do this in several parts. Next week, we'll continue with the best game show hosts of all time who are no longer with us, meaning they are deceased. But let me show you our next person. I have some nice pictures of the next talent, and we've talked about him in the trivia. It's this gentleman, Bud Collier. Look at that nice TV Guide cover. Okay, so let's talk about Bud. Bud Collier's birth name was Clayton Johnson Heermance Jr. And that's last name is spelled Heermance. Clayton Johnson Heermans Jr. He was born on June 18th, 1908. He was a radio actor, an announcer, and game show host, of course, who later became one of the nation's first major television game show stars. He is best remembered for his work as the first host of the TV game shows Beat the Clock and To Tell the Truth. But he was also famous in the roles of Clark Kent and Superman on radio and in animated cartoons, initially in theatrical short subjects and later on television. Yeah, it was incredible, huh? Did you know that? Now, Collyer was born in Manhattan to Clayton Johnson Heermans and Caroline Collyer. He originally sought a career in law, attending Williams College. But Collier's best remembered radio starring role began in early 1940 in that show, The Adventures of Superman on the Mutual Broadcasting System, a role he also performed in the subsequent Superman cartoons. Bud Collier supplied the voices of both Superman and Clark Kent opposite radio actress Joan Alexander as Lois Lane. Every Superman episode featured a scene in which Clark Kent changed into Superman's costume, an effect which Collier conveyed by shifting voices while speaking the phrase, "This looks like a job for Superman," his voice always dropping when he became Superman. Originally, Clark Kent and Superman were going to be played by two different actors, but it was Bud Collier's ability to voice Clark Kent as a tenor and switch to bass when he played Superman that got him the role. It also saved the producers the cost of two actors. In 1966, Bud would reprise the role of Superman in the Filmation animated television series, The New Adventures of Superman, and he was reunited with Alexander as Lois Lane. When producers Mark Goodson and Bill Todman planned to revive To Tell the Truth for syndication, they wanted Bud Collier to once again host the show. But Collyer declined, citing poor health. When Goodson and Todman called Gary Moore about the job, he immediately called Bud Collier, who told Moore that, quote, "I am just not up to it," unquote. And Bud Collier died at age 61 from a circulatory ailment in Greenwich, Connecticut, on the same day that the new To Tell the Truth premiered in daytime syndication. How sadly ironic is that? Bud Collier was laid to rest in Putnam Cemetery in Greenwich. In 1985, he was named as one of the honorees by DC Comics in the company's 50th anniversary publication titled 50 Who Made DC Comics Great, or 50 Who Made DC Great, meaning DC Comics. I added the word comics, but the actual title is 50 Who Made DC Great. Excuse me. Now, I like this clip in the Jackie Gleason show in 1954. Ralph Cramden supposedly appeared on Beat the Clock with Alice Cramden. And the kinescope of that, of course, exists. And I remember watching that way back in the late 1980s and 1987. The Honeymooners, The Hidden Episodes, and Showtime debuted that episode back in 1984 on their cable network. Jackie had struck a deal with Showtime Networks and MPI Home Video. But let's watch a couple clips of Bud Collier, and then we'll talk about our next superstar of game shows. And I've got that clip right here for you now. And these are very short clips. That's what she said. Stalling. Yeah. Here's a 2-minute, 58-second clip of Bud on To Tell the Truth.
Thank you. Welcome again to Tell the Truth. Good afternoon, panel.
Good afternoon, Bud.
How's the baby?
Just fine.
Had a phone call? Everything is all right?
Oh, he made him himself.
Ah, great, great. In front of you, thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good afternoon, panel.
Good afternoon.
There we are. In front of you, you will find today's envelopes, the contents of which you've never seen before. Open them up. The one marked number 1. And Orson, how's the baby?
He's fine.
Is he?
He's growing a mustache. It's a funny thing how it worked out.
And he's how old now? He's 5 days old?
Now, well, he's about a week and a half now. I just bought him a double-breasted pinstripe. He's going out to get a job.
Glad to hear it. Get him started young, that's what I always say. Follow along, if you will. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth. A real warm welcome to you, and to you.
Oh, thank you, Bud.
Hi, Bud.
A warm welcome to you. Tell me, how's Max?
Max is fine. He watched the show yesterday, thought it was fair.
Good. Is he still writing his column? All right, in front of you, you will find Max who? Max Bean, Orson's little baby son.
Right.
Our producer got worried because it might have been something out of context and no one would know.
2 weeks old.
2 weeks old, and bless his heart and bless his lovely mother's heart. Now, in front of you, you will find today's envelopes, and if you'll... Thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good afternoon, panel.
Good afternoon, Bud.
Hey. Orson, how's the baby?
He's fine.
Is he good?
Yeah, he went out and...
Give him our collective love.
Oh, I will indeed.
In front of you, you will find today's envelopes. Thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good afternoon, panel.
Good afternoon,
Bud.
Hey, how is young Max, Orson?
Young Max is out riding a motorcycle today.
I don't
Imagine
believe
it. 3 weeks old. I can't keep him home.
That's really amazing. Well, in front of you, thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Panel, including the father of Max, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How is Max?
He's saving his money.
Is he?
He never goes out or does nothing.
What is he now, 3 weeks old?
About 3.5 weeks. I took him out once, but one shot under the table.
That's strong formula today, I'll tell you. Thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good afternoon, panel.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yes, isn't it?
Yes, and think of the money.
How is Max?
Max is just fine.
Good.
He's growing a mustache.
4 weeks
month
old now?
Yeah, 4
A
weeks.
month old, he's growing a
Terrible.
mustache. All
Shocking
righty.
kid.
In front of... Thank you very much. Welcome once again
Yes.
to Tell the Truth. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bud.
Those commercials are great, aren't they?
How
with the
is
kids?
Max?
Max is fine.
He's how old now? 5 weeks?
About.
Earning a living?
Of course he is. What is Chef Boyardee's first name?
Max.
Hector. Hector.
In front of you.
Yeah, I like that edit. Now, here is Bud Collier promoting Beat the Clock, and this is just 56 seconds long.
Hi, I'm Bud Collier, and these are just a typical assortment of the many props contestants work with on Beat the Clock. We give them a lot of very simple things to do. Anyone can do them. You take this poker chip, for example. You just have to place it on your forehead like this, wriggle your face, and then catch it in your teeth. Saucer bit is also very easy. You just place it on the shoulder like this. Please. I'll transfer it to the other shoulder without using my hand. There's no sense in showing off. I just want to give you an idea of the many funny tricks we have on Beat the Clock. Now, I'll take this kerchief right here and place it on top of my head. Then I'll put my hands behind my head and catch at my elbows. Watch. See? It's really simple enough for a baby to do, but after all, I'm no baby. You can do it honest, though. I just didn't have time enough because there's one more stunt that I want to show you and only a few seconds of my minute left. Now, you watch. Now, you see, I told you all the stunts are easy on Beat the Clock. Our show is fun for all and all for fun. Join us every weekday on ABC. So long for now.
That show was hosted by several people after Bud, even Gene Wood, who was a pretty much known as a game show announcer on Family Feud and Super Password, and Ray Combs' Family Feud, as well as Richard Dawson's Family Feud, and many other game shows. He hosted a version of that, but so did Monty Hall, whom we'll talk about. Monty Hall didn't last long, but I kind of liked his version of Beat the Clock from 1979. Now, let's move on to the next person on our list. Let me see if I had any pictures, though, that I pulled of Bud. I showed the TV guide cover, but let me just make sure I didn't have any others. There's the... Nope. Okay. Now we're going to talk about this fellow, Gary Moore. He was a character. And he's the third on our list tonight in part one of the best game show hosts of all time, who sadly are deceased. Gary Moore was born as Thomas Garrison Morfitt on January 31st, 1915. And he was an entertainer, as well as a comedian and a comedic personality, game show host, and humorist, best known for his work in television. He began a long career with CBS, starting in radio in 1937. That's why these guys were great. These original hosts were radio stars, where you had to really perform. You had to create a picture before there was a camera in front of them. They had to use their voice and the use of the English language to paint a picture. Now, after dropping out of high school, Gary Moore found success first as a radio host. Beginning in 1937, he worked for the then decade-old Baltimore radio station WBAL AM 1090. One of the oldest, largest, and most powerful radio stations in that city. It was a clear channel station whose 50,000-watt signal reached through most of the surrounding Middle Atlantic states region and most of the eastern United States in the nighttime hours. It was affiliated with the NBC radio network, and it was owned by the Hearst Corporation, the major longtime media syndicate newspaper chain of Titan mogul William Randolph Hearst, who lived from 1863 to 1956, of first San Francisco, then becoming a major American media owner centered now in New York City at this point in time, with control later passed down through family descendants and publishers. And of course, you know about the Patty Hearst situation where William Randolph Hearst's daughter was kidnapped and brainwashed. Yeah, we know all about that. But getting back to Gary Moore, Gary later moved to the medium of television beginning in 1949 and through the mid-1970s. Gary Moore was a television host on several variety and game shows. Gary Moore hosted several daytime and primetime programs, such as The Gary Moore Show and the game shows I've Got a Secret and To Tell the Truth, after Bud Collier hosted To Tell the Truth. Gary Moore was instrumental in furthering the career of comedic actress Carol Burnett. And Gary Moore became known early in his career for his bow ties and his crew cut fashion. After being diagnosed with throat cancer in 1976, Gary Moore retired from the broadcasting industry, making only a few rare television appearances. Gary Moore spent the last years of his life in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and at his summer home in Northeast Harbor in Maine. Gary Moore died on November 28th, 1993, at the age of 78. And I have a clip of Gary Moore from his final appearance on To Tell the Truth in 1977. And here's another nice little, well, I'll save it for later. Let me get to the clip, and the comments. Here we go.
I have been reminded by our producers that I failed in the last spot to ask the real man to stand up, who of course was Mr. Thornton. He was number one, but it seemed rather obvious to me once you saw the kids, you knew who the daddy was, and so we didn't have to bother with that. So now we come to something a little out of our ordinary line. Normally at this time in the show, you know, we'd have another game. We'd have something probably cultural. We'd have something like a 9-year-old genius boy who put together a hydrogen bomb in his own basement, thus becoming the first kid on his block to be the last kid on his block. That, you know, one of those. Don't worry, friends, because it goes downhill from here. But I asked if I could drop by today and spend a few minutes just chatting and reminiscing and explaining a few things, and particularly explaining a few things, because several months ago, some of you may have noticed that I suddenly just disappeared from this show. Totally, I just disappeared off the screen, and it caused some confusion. And we've been getting all kind of mail from people, a lot of them wanting to know if I'm still alive, and those of you who have very good seats and who are sitting down front can see that more or less I am alive. And I'm well. I'm doing all the things I used to do. I sail. I snorkel. Yesterday I knocked over a little old lady with my skateboard. So I'm in good shape. And other people wrote in. They thought maybe I'd had an accident. They thought maybe I was practicing a magic trick for the show, and I accidentally disappeared up my own sleeve. So and the worst thing, and this is true, we did get quite a bit of mail from some of my ex-drinking buddies who wanted to know if I'd gone back to my old hobby. That was my favorite brand. It was called Old Hobby, and it got me into all kinds of trouble. And I'm happy to tell you that that is not the case at all. So if that is not the case, then the question is, where have I been? Well, some months ago, I was suddenly diagnosed by the doctors as having a no-no in my throat, one of the baddies, you know. And so literally on a few days' notice, I was in a hospital, and they got a surgeon down who practiced his needlepoint on my pharynx. That's all right to say, isn't it?
Yes.
Pharynx.
Yes.
Yeah, it's next to your larynx and somewhere between your ears. It's back in there. But anyhow, as a result of that, I could not talk for a couple of months, or at least not very well. So, thankfully, a couple of very good friends of mine filled in for me, starting with little buddy Bill Cullen, and then big buddy Joe Garagiola. And for a while, we didn't know what it was going to be temporary or what it was going to be. But anyhow, as I was lying there in a hospital, suddenly I thought to myself, maybe somebody's giving me a message. Maybe after 42 years of broadcasting, anything beyond that is just plain greed. See? So I decided maybe what I should do is hang up my gloves. And so I have. I have retired, and I am retired right now. I assume I'm not being paid for this show.
Right, you assume correctly. Yeah. Good assumption. Brilliant assumption.
Yeah, management has not changed. This is a freebie all the way around. But I did want to. Now, then, of course, following that came the question, okay, if I'm going to retire, which I did, then we're going to need somebody else in this spot. So they decided that the fairest thing to do was to toss for it. So they had a big conference over at Goodson Todman, and they all got together, and they did what they've wanted to do for a long time. They flipped Mark Goodson, and he came down heads, and Joe Garagiola lost, and so Joe had to take the job as the new permanent MC of this show. Bill Cullen continues to have the luck of the hour. He sits there with the pretty girls and makes all the nasty remarks. Yeah. So I think that pretty much cleans up what I really wanted to say. And I thought that if we had any time left, if I haven't talked us out of everything, that we can... You're kidding. 2 minutes?
Gabby today, aren't you?
I tell you, let my mouth loose, it goes. Yeah. Let's just yak up. Kitty, you do a lot of lecture tours, and you go to the colleges and so forth. What do people ask you most about?
Mostly about the show. They ask me if I wear my own clothes and where I get them from. And I tell them that I get them from, my friends, because I have a collapsible figure. I can wear anything I want to get into. And also, I keep my clothes forever. And therefore, I wear a lot of old clothes.
Now, everybody says they've never seen you wear the same dress twice.
Well, they say that, but I do.
When you came out today, Joe Dixon, our stage manager, said you look like a naked crow. You kind of have to know Joe Dixon, and if you get a chance, avoid it.
Yeah, right.
Peggy, how about you, honey? What one thing stands out for the past 8 years in your mind?
Oh, well, what they ask about the people on the show is what are they really like, and I say they're like what you see. But what really the thing I've gotten most out of this show is it's an education. I meet all kinds of people, like from the lowest to the, people who've done time in the slam to presidents of companies, and heads of state, and it's been a most wonderful experience that way. I mean, I'm never shy. I don't think I started out shy, but now I can say hello to the devil himself. I'm not fazed.
I have never seen you phased in my entire life. Bill Cullen.
Well, the easiest thing about this show to me, sitting here, is of all the shows I've done in my entire life, and I don't have 42 years, but I'm getting there. Yeah. This is the easiest. This is one show where you don't have to do anything, and the money is, I mean, it's okay. You can live on it. The question I'm asked all the time is, I hope so. Look at my... no, the question is, what is Gary like? And I tell him that he's loving, fine, a good, genuine guy to work with, and a peach of a fella. I figure if they really want to find out the truth, they'll get it from somebody else.
I knew that wasn't going to be straight. Joe, I have just been given the signal.
I saw it, Gary.
But you're going to have lots of months and lots of years.
I just want to say I'm glad that you're feeling good and you're doing what you want to do, because that's what we pray
I feel
for.
great. I really do. I really do. I feel fine. Thank you. We will be back for a more or less official farewell in just a couple of minutes here.
What can I do to help save the Whammy? It's simple. Watch Whammy, the all-new Press Your Luck. If you don't watch, Whammy disappears. So please keep watching.
I'll tell you, I'd stay here and talk all day if they let me, Joe. I want to wish you all the luck in the world, and I'm sorry I have to leave. I have a very important business date. Right now I'm leaving. I have a luncheon date. Xavier Hollander and I are opening a tattoo parlor. So I'll see you around. Thank you.
In addition to the cash awards, our contestants today will receive fashion jewelry from Sarah Coventry, who has jewelry for every occasion. See the jewelry with fashion know-how, the Sarah Coventry Home Fashion Show. And Turtle Wax Super Hard Shell Car Wax Kit with high-speed applicator, a fluid formula that cleans, waxes, and seals in the shine from Turtle Wax.
These are your friends.
The jury has found you guilty on all charges. But you have an honest face. Case dismissed.
Excuse me. I think you dropped this $100 bill. These are your foes.
I'll keep a real close eye on your boyfriend while you're gone.
I wish I could come down on the price, but we're going to have to order that part from Tunisia.
Friend or foe? It pays to know.
Friend or Foe, weeknights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Game Show Network.
No, I didn't fall asleep. I thought that there were might be some funny promos from 2000, but not so much. Those promos kind of sucked, but I didn't see the promos until just now with you guys and gals live. But I do think that's touching, just like Esmeralda said. Let me read some of these comments. I put them on the screen, but for listeners, let me just see here. Beth Meadows says, wonderful. Jim's camera at dawn says 100%, agreeing with this sentiment by Beth when she said compassion and empathy are in short supply along with patience. Very well stated. And Esmeralda said, that was a more understanding time. They did not instantly replace someone for an illness. Indeed. And then Sarah in Southern California says, Chance, this is a great show. I love this so much. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for your loyalty. You are such a good friend and so loyal to this show. Beth Meadows also said, happy hooker. Appreciate that. Not about happy hooker, but I'm not saying you pressed all the buttons. Thank you for that. So, did I play the classic concentration clip with all the screw ups. I don't know if I did. Sarah, will you let me know in the comments? Because we'll save that for later. I don't think I did. There was a bonus round with all of these screw ups, and I think with the stream going down, I got thrown off. But I just got to say that Gary Moore, like you heard in my liner notes, he did help jumpstart Carol Burnett's career, and they were good friends. She gave him incredible loyalty, and still in her birthday celebration, most recently, her 90th birthday celebration, which was a primetime special, she talked about Gary Moore. So she'll never forget him. And he's been gone since 1977. Jeez. No, since 1993. He retired in 76, and then he came back in 77, what you just saw. Right. He passed away at the age of 78 in 1993, on November 28th, 1993. Wow. And that's cool that he wound up living for a long time in Hilton Head, South Carolina, since I'm in the South, in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And then I have my aunt and uncle owned property in Maine on a pond. He liked to be in Northeast Harbor in Maine. So anyway, that was his final To Tell the Truth. And To Tell the Truth airs on the Buzzer Network, which I love, a free over-the-air network you can get just from a digital antenna if you live close enough to the signal of your local affiliate. It's all over the country, but it also streams. I didn't mention this yet, and I should have, on Pluto TV. There is a Pluto TV network for Buzzer, just like there is for the classic Bob Barker era Price is Right episodes. I guess Al Hardy's watching. He says, my antenna gets 72 channels, and I just stream now. Oh, he's talking about something else we're talking about offline, about him cutting the cord and getting rid of his DVR box with Xfinity. Okay, so now let's get on with the fourth talent whom we miss, who made a big difference, and so many people love this guy, as do I, Bill Cullen. Bill Cullen was one of the most beloved game show hosts of all time for many game show viewers and fans. And for those that may not know who this is, you probably know the face. I'm sure most of you that are watching right now or listening know who Bill Cullen is. But I'm going to show some pictures that I found just for y'all. There's Gary. There's Bill Cullen in a nice autograph shot when he had the buzz cut. And there he is with his wife, Ann. They appeared on Tattletales a lot together. And then here is Bill Cullen with Betty White and Dick Clark on the set of Pyramid. So let's talk about him. I'm going to put his photo up. Oh gosh, my radio station's coming through. Fistful of Radio. Okay. I don't want to get dinged for the music. I'm playing music. Let me just turn it up and see if you can hear. Oh, you can't, because I don't think I have it. Hang on a second. Let me get to Bill Cullen. Let me just see if you can hear this real quick. Let's see what song's playing on Fist. Well, god dang. Hang on a second. One's un momento, folks. I've got to do something technical. Okay, I was hoping it'd have something to do with game shows because I programmed some game show stuff on Fistful of Radio, which you can stream from anywhere. Fistfulofradio.com. Just hit the play button. That was Bond 77 from the soundtrack to The Spy Who Loved Me, James Bond movie starring Roger Moore, the first movie with Jaws, with the steel teeth. But getting back on topic and back on point about Bill Cullen, and I have some excellent video I'm going to show you, Bill Cullen. Bill Cullen was born on February 18th, 1920. And of course, he was a radio as well as a television personality whose career spanned 5 decades. Bill Cullen was known for appearing on game shows and later as a prolific game show host in his own right. He hosted 23 shows, earning the nickname, quote, the Dean of Game Show Hosts, unquote. Like the Dean of Nostalgia World, our friend Jerry Dobson, Jerry with a G for Gerald. But Bill Cullen was deemed the Dean of Game Show Hosts. Aside from his hosting duties, he appeared as a panelist and celebrity guest on many other game shows, including regular appearances on I've Got a Secret and To Tell the Truth. And you heard Gary Moore talk about him filling in for him, which he did early on in his battle with his illness in the mid 1970s, starting in 1973 and 74. Bill Cullen filled in for Gary Moore on To Tell the Truth. Bill Cullen was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the only child of William and Lillian Cullen. His father was a Ford dealer in Pittsburgh. Bill Cullen survived a childhood bout with polio that left him with significant physical limitations for the rest of his life. Bill Cullen was a pre-med student at the University of Pittsburgh, but had to withdraw because of financial problems. After he achieved some success in radio, he returned to the university and earned a bachelor's degree. Bill Cullen's broadcasting career began in 1939 in Pittsburgh at WWSW Radio, where he worked as a disc jockey and play-by-play announcer or color commentator for the Pittsburgh Steelers football team and the Pittsburgh Hornets, which was a minor league hockey team. In 1943, Bill Cullen left WWSW for a brief job at rival station KDKA before leaving Pittsburgh a year later to try his luck in New York. A week after arriving in New York, Bill Cullen was hired as a staff announcer at CBS. To supplement his then meager income, Bill Cullen became a freelance joke writer for some of the top radio stars of the day, including Arthur Godfrey, Danny Kaye, and Jack Benny. He also worked as a staff writer for the Easy Access, I'm sorry, folks, the Easy Aces radio show. Easy Access, where's my mind? My mind's in the gutter. Bill Cullen also worked as a staff writer for the Easy Aces radio show. Bill Cullen's first venture into game shows was in 1945, when he was hired as an announcer for a radio quiz show called Give and Take. In the summer of 1950, Bill Cullen was the quizmaster on a show called Hit the Jackpot, the summer replacement for Amos and Andy on CBS Radio. After a brief stint at WNEW in 1951, Bill Cullen hosted a popular morning show at WNBC Radio from 1955 until 1961. He also served in the military. Bill Cullen was a pilot for the U.S. Army Air Forces in World War II. And Bill Cullen served in the Civil Air Patrol as an instructor and patrol aircraft pilot in his native Pennsylvania during World War II, having failed to qualify for combat duty due to his physical disabilities. And he was interested in mechanics. Bill Cullen's first television game show was the TV version of Winner Take All, which premiered on NBC in 1952. In 1953, Bill Cullen had The Bill Cullen Show, a weekly morning variety program on CBS. Bill Cullen hosted Bank on the Stars in 1954, and from 1954 to 1955, Bill Cullen hosted NBC's Place the Face, a program in which celebrities identified people from their past. He simultaneously hosted CBS's Name That Tune. From 1956 to 1965, he hosted the initial daytime and primetime versions of The Price is Right, first on NBC and then on ABC television. It was another Goodson-Todman production. Bill Cullen was also a panelist on I've Got a Secret from 1952 until 1967 and on To Tell the Truth from 1969 to 1978, where he also guest hosted on occasion, as I've already referenced earlier tonight, just a moment ago. After relocating to Southern California, Bill Cullen guest hosted on Password Plus for 4 weeks in April 1980, while the original host, Alan Ludden, was being treated for stomach cancer. Bill Cullen was initially in the running to host the 1972 revival of The Price is Right, but the physical demands of the new format were deemed too strenuous for Bill Cullen. Consequently, when CBS picked up the daytime version, Bob Barker was selected to host the daytime version, while Dennis James, who sold the pilot with Mark Goodson, hosted the syndicated nighttime version of The Price is Right. But Bob Barker remained the show's daytime host until his retirement in 2007. And of course, he hosted simultaneously Truth or Consequences until 1975. From 72 to 75, he hosted both shows, The Price is Right daytime and Truth or Consequences. Occasional references to Bill Cullen have been made by current Price is Right host Drew Carey. Other game shows that Bill Cullen hosted included I Guess, like an eyeball, EYE, Guess, in the 1960s. He also hosted 3 on a Match. He hosted Blankety Blanks. He hosted The Love Experts. And Bill Cullen also hosted How Do You Like Your Eggs? And the syndicated version of the $25,000 Pyramid. In the 1970s and later in his career, he hosted Chain Reaction, Blockbusters, Child's Play, Hot Potato, and The Joker's Wild. His final hosting job from 1984 to 1986 following the death of the original host Jack Barry. In a 1984 TV Guide article, Bill Cullen commented on the ease with which he seemed to land his hosting jobs. This is how it happens every time, says Cullen. A known packager comes up with an idea for a new show. The network says, do a run-through, and they do. The network likes it, and they say, we'll give you a pilot. Then the network says, who are we going to get to host it? The packager says, who do you have in mind? The network. Let's go with someone new. The packager. Great idea. Who? The network. Don't you know anybody? The packager. No. There's so-and-so, but we tried him in a run-through and he didn't work out. How about you? You know someone? Network. No. Now the sets are constructed. The game is worked out. The staff is hired. It's 2 weeks before the show is to go on, and they're ready to shoot the pilot. Network. Well, have you thought of anybody yet? Packager. No. Network. Let's go with Bill Cullen. That's almost exactly how NBC picked the host of Hot Potato. End quote. From Bill Cullen. Bill Cullen appeared as a celebrity guest on many other game shows, including I've Got a Secret, What's My Line to Tell the Truth, Personality, The Crosswits. I remember a parody. There was a funny parody of Alex Trebek. It was way better than the one on Saturday Night Live on SCTV called Half Wits. And Martin Short played a mentally challenged player. Oh, my God. You just got to look it up. It's on YouTube. Look up Half Wits. It's a great parody of game shows. And he's so frustrated, Eugene Levy as Alex Trebek, excuse me, with the contestants who are so dumb. Excuse me. So Bill Cullen, he also hosted Crosswits, Password Plus, Match Game, Tattletales with his wife Ann, Break the Bank, Shoot for the Stars, and all of the pre-$100,000 versions of Pyramid. Cullen hosted a number of pilots for his close friend, quiz producer Bob Stewart, who created The Price is Right, To Tell the Truth, and Password for Goodson Todman Productions, and Pyramid for his own company. Bill Cullen thus became the only person to host each of these formats on a full or part-time basis. Bill Cullen also appeared as a panelist on game shows hosted by his favorite understudy, Bob Eubanks, including Trivia Trap, Rhyme and Reason, rhyme like lyrical rhymes, and All-Star Secrets, that he made guest appearances with Eubanks. He also made guest appearances with Bob Eubanks on Family Feud, on MC's Week for charity. In 1982, Bill Cullen, and I'm going to show this clip, made an appearance on The Price is Right to promote his new game show at the time, Child's Play. It was the only time he ever appeared on the revival of The Price is Right on CBS, but no mention was made of his role as the show's original host. Yeah, I thought that was really weird. Wrapping up the topic of the great Bill Cullen, Cullen also did color commentary on college football games early in his career and also broadcast track and field on NBC. And I've Got a Secret, producers Mark Goodson and Bill Todman and host Gary Moore quickly learned to never start the questioning with Cullen if the guest's secret was anything sports-related or mechanical, because chances were good that he would guess it immediately. Like my friend Al Hardy, he's really good with mechanical things. During his television career, Bill Cullen was nominated 3 times for Emmy Awards. His only win was a primetime Emmy for hosting a show called 3 on a Match in 1973. He was later nominated for daytime Emmys for his work on Blockbusters in 1982 and in Hot Potato in 1985. Throughout his career on radio and television, Bill Cullen hosted more than 25,000 individual episodes of radio and television shows. Bill Cullen was married 3 times and had no children. His first marriage was a brief one while still living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His second marriage, from 1948 to 1955, was to singer Carol Ames. On December 24th, 1955, Christmas Eve, Bill Cullen married former dancer and model Anne Romheld Mancomer, who was born Elise Ann Romheld, whose sister was, at the time, married to game show announcer and future MC Jack Nars, brother of Tom Kennedy. She was the daughter of composer Heinz Romheld. This marriage lasted until Bill Cullen's death in 1990. Ann Cullen occasionally worked as a model on Bill's The Price is Right on NBC and ABC. I assume, I don't know for sure, someone out there correct me, in the ABC version back in 63, was Ann on that too? I know she was on NBC as a model. And she made several appearances with Bill Cullen on Tattletales, which airs on Buzzer each and every evening. It was airing from 1 to 2 p.m., 2 episodes back-to-back. It's a half-hour show. Tattletales, hosted by Bert Convey, who will be featured next week in the Nostalgic Podblast tribute to deceased game show hosts. And unfortunately, Ann passed away on July 21st, 2018 at the age of 90. And Bill Cullen died at the age of 70 in 1990. Now let's look at some clips. I'm going to show some clips of Bill Cullen, the great Bill Cullen. And let me make sure I showed all the photos. There's Ann. Okay, I just talked about Ann. All right, I showed these photos, so now I can go on and show the clips I'd pulled for tonight pertaining to Bill Cullen. And these are people talking about Bill Cullen, but here's a nice ABC promo that Bill Cullen's doing for The Price is Right when it left NBC for ABC in the 63-64 season. Check this out. It's just a minute long. This is from film, so you're going to hear some audio goof-ups. Oh my gosh, there's 47 comments I've not addressed. I couldn't see them. I'll address them as I play the next clip.
$95, Mrs. Rosenbluth. This housewife is doing it, and so is this TV personality. This salesman is doing it, and so is this Broadway star. They're all playing The Price is Right, where excitement builds to a fever pitch, and no wonder. Every weekday and every Friday night, fabulous prizes are put up for bids, and as a special bonus on our nighttime Price is Right, a celebrity guest joins our panel of contestants to play in behalf of 4 members of our studio audience. Let's say hello to Joey Ross. Joey, happy to have you with us. Yep, they're all doing it, so how about you? You play The Price is Right with us every weekday and every Friday night on ABC.
Yeah, so I was right. The Price is Right aired on ABC just for that one season, 63-64, which was a big season for ABC. That season, it was deemed the new ABC by ABC, and they introduced The Outer Limits on Monday night at 8, introduced The Patty Duke Show, The Fugitive, and the debut of The Price is Right on that network. And the network screwed up. They originally had it on Wednesday nights from 8:30 to 9. Then they moved it to Friday night from 9:30 to 10, and the ratings tanked, and it was canceled at the end of that season. So, I'm going to play a clip of Dick Clark talking about Bill Cullen.
I was 13 years old when I saw a radio show done once, and I said to my father, who was in the cosmetic business at that time, I think I'd like to go in the radio business. Shortly thereafter, 4 years later, he quit his job and went to one of the radio stations so he could give me a hand along the way, and at 17, I got my first check, doing what I ended up doing the rest of my life. And I was thinking, while I was growing up, I had 2 idols. One of them was a fellow named Arthur Godfrey. I just loved the way he talked. He didn't address anybody, he just talked. And the other was a fellow named Bill Cullen, who I admired greatly because he did so much, and I have a sort of a frenetic attitude toward things, and I just love to be busy. Other than that, our lives didn't bump into one another very often, except when Pyramid came along. He did the nighttime version, I did the daytime version. But I did know one thing in looking up in the calendar. In 1956, Bill started doing The Price is Right. And in 1956, I started doing American Bandstand. Over the years, Bill has done 25 or more game shows, and there is no better master of it than that. And when you consider 25 game shows, every time a different format, a different rundown, a different set of rules, a different boss, a different network, and he just walked in and made it look so easy. I mean, the whole secret of any success on television is being accepted and making people feel comfortable, and hopefully they like you. But people didn't just like Bill, they adored him, they loved him as I did. And I don't have a lot of answer. I don't have a lot of intimate memories of Bill other than to say that I idolize the man, and he is one of those guys that I just cherish my memories of. Because when he did a version of Pyramid and I did, there was no jealousy. When he was on the show, I was a little nervous because it was so damn good. Scared the living daylights out of me, because when I was in a room with him, I was nervous, and I don't get sweaty palms very often, but I just cherish that man. And he was the master of them all. Somebody said earlier, paraphrased, Bill Cullen was a one of a kind. There never will be another one. There's never anybody like him, and he deserves this honor with great fondness. Thank you.
Here's a 1-minute clip of Tom Kennedy talking about the great Bill Cullen. Then I'm going to play a clip of Bill Cullen on The Price is Right with Bob Barker.
He was the best. That's all. I can't think of anyone who was any better than he. There were a lot of great MCs, Bud Collier, Gary Moore, Merv Griffin. I mean, these guys were all doing, these were mostly the guys doing shows out of New York. Gene Rayburn, Monty Hall, Peter Marshall. You could name them all. Bill was the best. That's all there is to it. And it was unpretentious, no big deal. He didn't do anything silly or crazy. He just simply was himself, and he was like the young man that we discussed off camera a while ago, a fellow by the name of Vin Scully, who had the admiration of everyone he ever worked for and anyone he ever knew. And when you talk about people like Vin Scully, who was around for years, and Bill Cullen, you're simply talking about the best. That's all there is to it. You don't have to go any further than that.
Amen. The late, great Tom Kennedy talking about the late, great Bill Cullen. Now, here's that day in 1982 when Bill Cullen visited the set of The Price is Right, and someone in chat had mentioned that you don't see Bill stand very much in these old game shows because of his childhood bout with polio. He couldn't stand for too long. But let's watch here. They bring him on the train on this episode of The Price is Right on CBS. It's about a 4-minute clip. I need to rest my throat anyway, so bear with it. But hopefully the stream won't go down. I'm a little nervous about this clip because Pluto TV has the exclusive rights to the Bob Barker Price is Right era channel on Pluto TV streaming. So let me just play. And I didn't get it from there. I got this from someone else on YouTube, a fan site, a game show fan channel. So I'm hoping it's okay to play it with you now.
Fortunately, they don't fit the age category for us. But they're nice. The nice thing about our show, Bob, is that the questions or the problems are presented differently. Instead of asking it or showing it or whatever, as we all have done through the years, we have kids aged 5 to 9 define words or describe phrases or describe people or things or programs or stuff like that, and the two players have to guess what it is the kids are describing.
I see.
And, you know,
that sounds interesting.
I'm childless, and my wife and I, and have been. I never realized how bright and perceptive these kids are. They've won my respect. So if you folks haven't seen us, we'd appreciate your catching us right before The Price is Right.
Well, I think that would be a spot.
Speaking of that, may I interrupt?
Yes, yes.
You know me. He and I have been interrupting each other for a long time now.
What would you want to interrupt to say what?
Well, we got a kid by the name of Jason Tolley.
Jason Tolley?
Tolley. He's 7.5 years old. He's from Los Angeles. And we asked him, we said, tell us what The Price is Right is.
Good question. What did he say?
Here's what Jason Tolley said.
We're going to see it.
It's a show that you watch that it's on about 9 in the morning. And you go, they made it shorter. They have like commercials every 2 minutes now. I watched it this morning, and there was this lady, and when she was spinning the wheel, she got $1,000. She landed on 1,000, and so did this other girl right after her. There's a guy named John on it, and he says when he goes to call the person, he says, "Come on down."
That's great.
Isn't that marvelous? Yeah. You know, isn't that much? And from that, the players guess what it is the kid is talking about.
I think that what you have there is great.
Yeah, thank you.
But you got Johnny, you got the show, you got the wheel.
Bob.
Yes.
Would I forget you?
Well, you did. You did.
No, I've been saving it as the pièce de résistance.
Oh, good.
We asked the same Jason Tolley immediately after, because he's still 7.5, from Los Angeles. We said, Jason, tell us about Bob Barker. And here is what he said. You'll like this.
I will.
Oh, yes.
Here's a guy who who's on there. He's the guy that calls the people whenever they say bid for the money. He's the guy that says if it's the highest number or not. He's the guy that does most of the talking on it.
Well, if I do most of the talking, then, John, I should get most of the money. You know that. Yeah. But we are going to be watching for the show. And I hope it's a smash hit for you. And thank you for joining us on The Price is Right.
Thanks for the chance. Thank you.
All aboard, Holly. John, what we have right over here.
An exciting trip to New York and a romantic trip to Jamaica. First, we'll fly through the round-trip air coach from Los Angeles to New York for a 6-night stay at the fabulous Eastside Hotel Lexington. You'll enjoy a lovely room with a beautiful view of Midtown Manhattan, and you'll be located near top Fifth Avenue shops at the Hotel Lexington, a quality inn. Second, we'll fly you and a companion round-trip air coach from Los Angeles to romantic Montego Bay, Jamaica for a 6-night stay modified American plan at the charming Toby Inn Hotel. You'll be enchanted by exotic Chinese, Polynesian cuisine, tree bar, lush tropical gardens, and nearby Doctor's Cave Beach. The Toby Inn, Montego Bay, Jamaica. Okay, Bob?
May we have the one right price out here? $1,552 is the price of the trip to New York.
Uh-oh. I messed up. I wanted to play more of that because I love Diane, and there's a little more, but I messed up. Hit the wrong button. There was only a few more seconds left. Final thing with Bill Cullen, and we're going to move on. Here's Bill Cullen, 57 seconds worth on To Tell the Truth.
Dr. Frank Field, you got us started. How did you vote?
All right, I'm taking number 2. He seemed to know a little more about parakeets, so just a hunch.
Okay, just a hunch. Kitty?
I went for number 2. I don't think a bird like that would cost $50 to $200, even though he can talk a little bit.
Okay, Bill Cullen.
Well, you know, we have a rule on this show that if we have seen some of the people on the show, whether they're right or wrong, we can question but not vote. Well, I have to disqualify myself because I met one of those gentlemen in the men's room, which,
What does that got to do with this?
well, I want you to know where I met the man. Because you might...
How do you answer Kitty's question?
How'd you know he was the real one?
He had his bird in his hand.
Get it? He had his cock in his hand. Okay, yeah, of course you got it. All right, so the great Bill Cullen, and I really recommend all those Tattletales episodes he was on with his wife, Ann. They were really funny and entertaining. So rest in peace. Bill Cullen, been gone since 1990, passing away at the age of 70. Let's see here. And then next, we got one more talent for you. This is a little more obscure, but not too obscure. And what was the date? July 7th, 1990 is when Bill Cullen passed away. Now we're going to talk about this gentleman. Let me show you his picture. And I'm at the end, I might play that full clip again of The Price is Right. I just love seeing the two Price is Right hosts together. That was really cool. But it was weird they didn't mention that he was the original host. Here's the next person on the list. And he also was a host of Price is Right. Dennis James. He hosted the nighttime Price is Right. Look at this ad. Kind of cool. WJAC TV in Johnstown. I like that. So let's talk a little bit about this gentleman. Not going to be as long as we were with Bill Cullen. I think Bill Cullen is a little bit more significant, but this man was significant as well. Dennis James was born as Demi, D-E-M-I-E, like Demi Moore, but without the E. I mean, but with the E. She has the D-E-M-I. But Dennis James was born as D-E-M-I-E, Demi James Sposa, S-P-O-S-A, on August 24th, 1970. 1917. Take two. Dennis James, born Demi James Sposa on August 24th, 1917, was a television personality, a philanthropist, and a commercial spokesman. Until 1976, he had appeared on television more times and for a longer period than any other television star. He was referred to as the Dean of Game Show Hosts, along with fellow MC Bill Cullen, and the Godfather of Game Shows. He was the host of television's first network game show, the Dumont Network's show Cash and Carry, in 1946. Dennis James was also the first person to host a telethon, raising more than $750 million for United Cerebral Palsy throughout his nearly 5-decade run as its host. $750 million! He was the first to appear in a television commercial for Wedgwood China, the first to MC a variety show, and the first to appear on videotape. Talking about Dennis James. That's more than 25 firsts in all, if you count everything and some I did not even mention. James was born to Demetrio Ernst Sposa and Teresa Amorlosi, both of Italian descent. He was born in Jersey City, New Jersey. Dennis James joined that city's WAAT as an announcer and moved in May of 1940 to WNEW in New York City, which is now WBBR. He was soon hosting a morning show called Breakfast with Bamberger's Basement. He went into television, appearing in 1943 on the first anniversary program of Jesus, how do you say that? He went into television, appearing in 1943 on the first anniversary program of W2 World War II. Okay, I don't know what W2XVW. Roman numeral. Okay, so W2 World War II XVW. W2XVW. Boy, am I stuck with that. Appearing in 1943 on the first anniversary program W2XVW, which eventually became WABD, the flagship station of the Dumont Television Network. In 1946, WABD is now Fox-owned WNYW. By mid-July 1943, Dennis James had taken over as host of Dumont's flagship station of the Dumont Television Network. In 1946, WABD is now Fox-owned WNYW. God, I'm messing up bad. I already read that. By mid-1943, taking over as host of Dumont's renamed. Okay, here we go. All right, take 5. By mid-July 1943, Dennis James had taken over as host of Dumont's renamed Wednesday night variety show titled Television Roof. By September, programming was drastically curtailed on all New York stations due to the war. On April 15, 1946, WABD opened new studios at Wanamaker's department store, and on the 18th, James appeared in an episode of Famous Jury Trials. Dennis James became the host of many game shows. His first was apparently WABD's Dumont Beep Stakes, spelled BEEP-STAKES, on May 29th, 1946. Dumont Beep Stakes. What a weird title. Followed on June 20th, 1946, with the more successful Cash and Carry from the same program packager, Carr and Stark. Carr like Alan Carr, spelled C-A-R-R, one of the producers of Grease, the movie, 1978. But Carr and Stark. He later appeared on the ABC version of Chance of a Lifetime, no relation, from 1952 to 1953, and served as a commentator for Dumont's wrestling and boxing shows such as Boxing from Jamaica Arena from 1948 to 1949 and Amateur Boxing Fight Club from 1949 to 1950. Dennis James hosted the Dumont daytime variety show titled Okay Mother from 1948 to 1951 with Julia Meade, like Robin Meade from CNN Headline News, who's retired from that. Same spelling, M-E-A-D-E, Julia Meade. Dennis James often addressed the TV audience as mother, a practice he had begun when discussing the finer points of wrestling during his sports broadcasts. He feared the men in the audience would be insulted by the implication that they didn't already know the rules, even if they didn't, but would accept that James was merely explaining things for the benefit of women watching. James started his game show hosting career with the first network game show, Cash and Carry, on the Dumont Network from 1946 to 1947. And during the 1953 to 1954 season, Dennis James was the announcer of the quiz program Judge for Yourself, which aired on NBC with Fred Allen as the MC host. In 1956, Dennis James and Burt Parks hosted the ABC musical game show titled Stop the Music. In 1956, Dennis James emceed a show called High Finance on CBS, in which contestants answered current events questions to build up a jackpot for prizes. Dennis James also appeared with Bill Lydon in the 1962 to 1964 NBC quiz program titled Your First Impression. Dennis James's game show hosting duties spanned 4 decades as he presided over such shows as The Name's the Same, Haggis Baggis, People Will Talk, and PDQ, and the talent shows Chance of a Lifetime and Your All-American College Show. Dennis James was the official commercial presenter of the one episode You're in the Picture, and appeared in the subsequent Apology episode as well. His last new game show hosting gig was the NBC daytime revival of Name That Tune from 1974 to 1975. Dennis James was a regular substitute for host Monty Hall on Let's Make a Deal beginning in January 1972, when he caught the attention of Mark Goodson and Bill Todman, who were putting together the new Price is Right for syndication. The new format would incorporate the original format from 1956 to 1965 with elements from Let's Make a Deal. Dennis James and Mark Goodson co-hosted a promotional film selling stations on the 1972 revival of the show, which was originally hosted by Dennis James' fellow TV pioneer Bill Cullen. CBS, at the time re-entering the game show market after 4 years without any, agreed to pick up a daytime version of the show, but due to contractual obligations, asked Truth or Consequences host Bob Barker to host. Bob Barker took the daytime Price is Right show, which he hosted until 2007. while Dennis James hosted a weekly version for the syndicated market, which usually aired on local stations in the access period leading into prime time, and was thus known as the Nighttime Price is Right. Gonna play a clip in a minute. On the Nighttime Price is Right, Dennis James was reunited with another Dumont Television Network host, Johnny Olson, who served as announcer, as he did with Bob Barker until his death in 1985. Dennis James hosted the weekly show from 1972 until 1977 of The Price is Right. He also filled in for Bob Barker during 4 daytime episodes in December 1974, becoming the first substitute host for the CBS version of The Price is Right. Dennis James' departure from the nighttime Price is Right show in 1977 marked the end of his game show career. Now, outside of sports and game shows, Dennis James is also held in high esteem as a commercial spokesman. His clients included Old Gold cigarettes, Kellogg's cereals, and, through his own production company, local and regional companies and businesses around the country. Dennis James was the spokesman for Physicians Mutual Insurance Company from 1971 until 1997. His expression, okay, okay, became a trademark in many of Dennis James commercials. Dennis James' friend Andy Granatelli hired him to serve as the original commercial spokesman for Tune Up Masters. Dennis James hosted the first telethon using the then new television medium to raise money for charity. He was the MC for the United Cerebral Palsy Association's telethons. Yep, we talked about that. Don't want to be repetitive. Excuse me. And Dennis James hosted the charity's primary telethon in New York City on WOR-TV, now WWR-TV, WWOR-TV for 47 years, aided by Jane Pickens, Paul Anka, Florence Henderson, and other performers. Dennis James also hosted telethons in major cities all over the United States on a monthly basis from 1950 until 1979. When the telethon went national in 1979 with John Ritter as the MC in Los Angeles, UCP enlisted James as a national presenter. In addition to Dennis James' duties as the anchor of the New York City version, which also was seen on cable all over the USA via WOR-TV. Dennis James' son Brad appeared on the telethons for over a decade, interviewing some of UCP's clients. When James died in 1997, Brad and Florence Henderson came back to host the telethon for the last time in January 1998. James also appeared as the host of Your College All-Star Show that included a notable appearance in June 1968 by Karen and Richard Carpenter, their first appearance along with Bill Sisoyev, forming the Dick Carpenter Trio, as they were known at the time, that included then 18-year-old Karen doing a drum solo well before Richard and Karen became the brother and sister team and group The Carpenters. As an actor, Dennis James guest starred in numerous television series and dramas. Some of those include 77 Sunset Strip, The Problem Playhouse, Batman, Oh Madeline, Rich Man, Poor Man, which was a miniseries, and Fantasy Island with Ricardo Montalban, who liked to push the fine Califfian leather. On the big screen, Dennis James appeared in Mr. Universe, the one and only, Rocky III, and his last film appearance, The Method, in 1996. Dennis James bought a home in Palm Springs, California in 1980. He was then called on to host dozens of charity events a year in the Palm Springs area, including events for Child Help International, the Frank Sinatra Golf Classic, and the Bob Hope Desert Classic. In 1996, a Golden Palm Star on the Walk of Stars was dedicated to Dennis James. For his contribution in the television industry, Dennis James has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame located at 6753 Hollywood Boulevard. Hundreds came to the dedication, and many luminaries got up and spoke, including Bob Hope, Foster Brooks, and Kevin Dobson. Foster Brooks is known for pretending to be drunk in his comedy routines and on game shows like Match Game. United Cerebral Palsy's office, UCP, in California's Inland Empire is known as the Dennis James Center. And in 1996, Dennis James began organizing a golf fundraiser near his home. His widow and children continued with the tournament, which was named in his honor. Fellow game show host Jack Nars's son, David, has been actively involved with the office and the Dennis James Golf Tournament. Excuse me. Through the years, dozens of James' close friends have come out to support the event, including Monty Hall, Jack Nars, Tom Kennedy, Peter Marshall, and Joe Pesci. Of course, Monty Hall and Jack Nars and Tom Kennedy are no longer with us. In the 2017 book titled Okay, Dennis James' Lifetime of First by Adam Nedeff, take 18. In 2017, the book titled Okay, Dennis James' Lifetime of First was published, written by Adam Nedeff, Nedeff. I've seen him in interviews. He's a game show historian. Now, sadly, Dennis James died on June 3rd, 1997 from lung cancer at his home in Palm Springs. His remains were interred at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles. He was 79 when he passed away. Now let's look at some video from the Nighttime Price is Right with Dennis James, if anyone is still out there. Let's see. Yes, let me get to the clips. Get rid of that. Take that off the screen. And here we go. He was really a good force, wasn't he, Dennis James? More than I realized. Let's look at a clip. I've got couple clips of Dennis James. All right, here's Dennis James on the Nighttime Price Right. Just a minute and 25 seconds.
A fortune in fabulous prizes may go to these people tonight if they know when the price is right. Harold Walker, come on down. Lola Renzulli, come on down. Patricia Holloway, come on down. You are the best four contestants on The Price is Right. And now here's the star of the Nighttime Price is Right, Dennis James.
Everybody, hello. All you nice folks at home, welcome once again to the Nighttime Price is Right, where we have fabulous prizes. Price along with us.
Now, here's another clip of Dennis James on Name That Tune.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
NBC is total entertainment. Love in the afternoon.
Following big stars and exciting prizes each morning, starting with Name That Tune, with Dennis James hosting a fast-paced new look to a classic fun show. Followed by Bill Cullen and Winning Streak, where you can double your money to win fabulous cash, or you can go broke. Then, High Rollers, where every decision is a gamble. Alex Trebek and Ruta Lee keep the excitement high. And then, watch the stars compete on the Hollywood Squares with Peter Marshall. Next, Jackpot, with Jeff Edwards as the man with the action and cash. And the excitement continues with Celebrity Sweepstakes, with Jim McCrell, your host, as the audience bets for and against top celebrity guests. Then, right after lunch, it's Jeopardy, everybody's favorite, as Art Fleming keeps the fascinating questions and answers coming for cash prizes. Mornings are alive with excitement on NBC.
Pretty cool. What a lineup, huh? That was a great game show lineup. Now I'm going to play just a 1-minute clip of Dennis James being interviewed.
This is one of, how are you, Dennis?
Hi, Milt.
This is one of the most durable men in television. He was there early, he was there in the middle years, and he's still there in many markets all over the country. This is Dennis James. And Dennis, you can do a sports program, you can moderate a show, you could meet the press. Is there anything on TV you haven't done?
I'll tell you what I'm interested in now, believe it or not. And I don't think you guys are going to like what I'm about to say. All this cable stuff, Milt. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to make a whole new area. It's going to make commercial television be on the ball that much more. And it's going to open up all these areas in cable TV.
But you've had so many successful careers, you're not going to assume another one, are you?
Well, no, it'll be the same career, but I just like to see anything progress.
Listen, you were one of the earliest Hollywood friends of Foster Brooks, weren't you? How did you become acquainted with him?
Well, I was doing a show at March Air Force Base, sort of a thing like this. I was master of ceremonies. And a producer came to me and said, look, I got another act I'd like to put in the show. And I said, oh, the show's too long now. And I looked back and saw this guy with the beard. And so I said, all right, put him on for 5 minutes.
You liked him ever since?
Wow. The greatest stand-up comic I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Hey, Milt.
It's always good
you people are just beautiful down here. God bless you.
Thank you.
What a great voice he had. Now, going to play a clip of Bob Barker mentioning Dennis James from the 1970s Price is Right.
We have already given away an automobile. Johnny, we have more prizes. We need another contestant. All right, Bob, where is Helene Rabio? Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Helene has arrived on the scene, at the very least looking hopeful. Contestants, will you look at the next item up for bids on this show? A washer and dryer. A Gibson 18-pound capacity Washmaster automatic washer with 5 wash and 5 rinse temperatures, plus Gibson's Agi-Soak action. And a matching Dry Master dryer with Gibson's Vacu-Dry system. The dryer flows faster, yet is more gentle to fabric. The first bid on the washer and dryer will be by you, Helene.
$620.
She bid $620. What do you bid, Sabrina?
$650.
She bid $650. How about it, Karen?
$655.
$655. And now back to you, Rhonda.
$570.
$570. The actual retail price of the washer and dryer is $730. It's yours, Karen. They are yours, I should say. You have won the washer and the dryer both. Right up here beside me, Karen. Now, Karen, you have a washer, you have a dryer, and who knows, you may have these. A range and a chest of drawers. First, from Heckman Furniture Company, a beautiful chest of drawers in the Oriental motif. A convenience piece anywhere in your home. It's hand-decorated in chinoiserie created by Heckman Furniture Company. And second, a range. Custom-made 40-inch gas range by Crown with side-by-side ovens, 2 broilers, 6 2 and 1 center simmer burners, burner with brain and clock that turns oven on and off by Crown. Karen tells me that she has just graduated from high school in Phoenix, Arizona, and now you're over here recuperating from the struggle of getting out of high school.
Yep.
Now, of course, when you were going to high school, you were probably busy during the day. Did you ever see the clock game on The Price is Right?
Yeah.
You know how to play the game?
Yeah, sort of.
Very good. Now, you're going after the chest, first of all. You have 30 seconds in which to win the chest and the range, but you're bidding on only the chest. Let's show the price of the chest, please. And I will help you out with higher and lower, as you know. Okay, the clock will start with your first bid. Go.
300.
Higher.
400.
Higher.
500.
Higher.
600.
Lower.
550.
Higher.
560.
Higher.
570.
Higher.
580.
Higher.
590.
Lower.
581.
Higher.
2.
Higher.
3.
Higher.
4.
Higher.
5.
Higher.
6.
Higher.
7.
Higher.
8. 9.
There you are. $588. And you own that beautiful chest over there across the stage. Did you skip your early morning classes to watch Price is Right?
No, I couldn't.
What time did school start?
8 o'clock.
And so you were in school from 8 to 12.
8 to 2:30.
And we were on from 9:30 to 10:30.
Right.
How did you get so good at the clock game, Karen?
I've seen a nighttime show.
Aha! Dennis has taught you the clock game. All right, now you have 16 and a half seconds left in which to win that range. Let us show the price of that range, please. Again, the clock will start with your first bid. Go.
600.
Higher.
700.
Higher.
800.
Higher.
900.
Lower.
850.
Higher.
860.
Higher.
870.
Higher.
880.
Higher.
890.
Lower.
81. 881.
Higher. Higher.
882.
Higher.
3,
Higher.
4, 5.
There you are. $685. You have won the chest. You have won the range. Congratulations to you, Karen. Now, could this be another one of those days where we have 6 winners in a row? It just might. We'll see more about it after
this. Oh, yeah, that was a long setup to just hear him say Dennis. Bob Barker saying Dennis, but I just like that clip. I like Vintage Price is Right, even if the quality wasn't that great visually and the audio wasn't that great. It's still worth it, I think. So, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I am going to stop talking about deceased game show hosts and just start to wrap the show, but I have some bloopers, some game show bloopers I promised that I want to present. So I only covered 4. Let's reiterate for anyone who tuned in late. I'm just going to mention the names of who we covered today. We had a trivia game at the very start of the show with clips, questions that I had written. Then we covered Groucho Marx, Bud Collier, Gary Moore, and Bill Cullen. And then Dennis James. These are all exceptional talents. And, you know, I don't want to just glaze over them, mention their name. You know, I don't want to just show a few clips. And I want to do this the proper way. This is an educational program lecture that's hopefully entertaining because of the clips, not because of me. So we're going to leave off right there, and we'll pick up with Gene Rayburn. Gene Rayburn, too, will start next week at 7:30 Friday night live in the nostalgic Podblast in YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and the Facebook group where you can see the video. And then everywhere on audio immediately after the show ends. So we'll leave off right there, and we'll pick up with Gene Rayburn. And let me look at some pictures I had pulled. Oh, damn. I forgot to show when I was talking about classic concentration earlier. I had some pictures. I do have some more video, like I said, some bloopers, game show bloopers. But I meant to show you guys and gals. Let's see. Where is that picture? I already showed that, I know, my DVD set. Oh, yeah. Some funny pictures of Alex Trebek, which I really will save for when we talk about him next week in part 2 of deceased game shows. But I like this one with that sweater that a viewer had mailed in back in the late 80s. I think that's kind of cool, of the board on concentration that you match and has the Rebus puzzle beneath it. Here's a picture of, oh, I got to save that for next time. I'm sorry, that didn't pertain to anyone we talked about today. But next time we will talk about the great Gene Rayburn. I know I'm repeating myself, but I meant to show that image. But look at all these talents. I mean, I can't do this in one show. I've already gone over 3 hours, and I'm trying to cut down on the length of the Podblasts as I grow the show. But you could see Dennis James, upper right corner, covered him. And behind him is Bud Collier. And then you see Gary Moore on the far left of that image, covered him. Bill Cullen, who was below Jack Nars with the glasses, covered him. So we're making some progress. And there's some others not pictured that we covered tonight in the trivia. So, and there's the very first black game show host of all time pictured right there. A very impressive statistic. Now, just to reiterate, that's Adam Wade, but I want to show now the picture of the very, very first credited historical game show host who's not pictured here. We talked about him in the beginning of the show. I'm just going to show a picture, which I did show before, but I'm sure a lot of you tuned in late. And this was an answer to one of my trivia questions I'd written. Who was the very first game show host in the world? The first game show host in radio or TV anywhere in the world was this gentleman, Freddie, spelled like Freddie Mercury, spelling Freddie, Griswold, Grise, Griswood. I'm thinking of National Lampoon's Vacation, Clark Griswold. It's very important I get this right. This is an educational show. I don't like to make mistakes, but obviously, like everyone else, I make plenty of mistakes. But it's Freddie Griswold, who is the first. He's out of the UK. He was the first game show announcer working for the BBC back in 1929. He started in 1929. And I just want to show you what he looked like for those that tuned in late. There he is. Okay. Now we can move on. Let me just look at some other pictures and make sure I didn't leave anybody out. Yep, we're good. So now, God, I got to look at some comments too. Let me just get to some bloopers. I found some funny game show bloopers. And then I might want to, I'm going to, Sarah, do you want to come on for a little bit at the end? We have to address something on your show, on My Flock. We were live Tuesday night and we both made a little mistake. I talked about it earlier, but I would like to talk with you. Leave a comment in chat if you're willing to come on. I know you're grieving right now, as I mentioned at the top of the show. This is very serious. She lost her father, so she may not be up to coming on. It's up to you, yay or nay. If we just for a couple minutes, I won't keep you long. But let's see here. While I'm waiting for you to respond to that question, make sure I got all the clips. All right, here's some game show bloopers, and then I'll get caught up on the chat. This is a 5-minute clip. Boop.
Name a classic television series from the days of black and white television. Vanessa.
Shirley Temple.
Well, I don't know if it was a series, but it was movies. Let me see. Shirley Temple. Yeah, come on.
And I think we'll start the questioning, please, to Peggy Cass.
Thank you, Gary. Number one, where was this? Where in the wilderness was this?
Where in the wilderness? Yeah. If I knew, I wouldn't have been lost.
Oh, no.
Now be sure, Evelyn, the moment you think you know, bang the button, because that's where Bonnie's quick. Very fast on the button. Question, what... I did suggest you did that, and you did it.
I just wanted to show you how fast I am.
That's very good.
Souvenir people bring back from Hawaii, Keenan.
A Hawaiian.
Is that your answer, or is that it? Yes? Okay.
No.
He says yes. I got to take a Hawaiian. No!
In the price of the bakeware, there are two numbers. Using two of those three numbers, write down the price of the bakeware. Go. You have 10 seconds. 80, there's no 1 up there. What are you doing? And there's no 8. I am doing business with a less than astute person here. That is a 9. What do you do? What is your job?
I'm a bookkeeper.
You're a bookkeeper? He's a bookkeeper. For what bankrupt company are you a bookkeeper? I said there were two numbers in the price of the bakeware. I said using two of those three numbers being a 9, a 2, and a 7, write down the price of the bakeware, and you write down $81. Now, Sandra, so far, you are one of the biggest disappointments in 10 Chances history.
Besides drinking, what other kinds of recreational activities can you do in a bar? Keith?
Pick up on girls.
Show me scam on chicks. Didn't make our survey, you pervert.
Name a reason why a relationship might end.
Change in sexual orientation.
Welcome to Hollywood. Change in sexual orientation. Is it up there? Oh.
You're a woman. And, oh, you're a slut. You're a prostitute. No. Undercover policewoman. Policewoman. Undercover.
Hey.
Policewoman.
Oh, I was going to say re. Yeah.
The blessed...
behalf of the $20,000 pyramid, we'd like to present you with...
The Virgin! We'll be right back. I am so sorry. I had it. I was going to say the Virgin Mary.
I love these big finishes. I asked you the birthday that men dread the most. You said their wives. The birthday men dread the most, you said their wives. If 17 men said that, you got $5,000. Our survey said...
Repeating. But... Magician. Safe. Safe. Stop. Cut. Over, out, over, finished. Button. End.
Yeah. And you got it. Hey.
Give me a break. A big one again.
That was the living end.
Yeah, we went down. Hey, Sarah, how are you holding up?
I'm echoing.
I know. I got the echo cancellation off. I forgot.
That's okay.
I don't like it on, but I'll do it because you've been through hell. Just for you, it's on now.
Oh, well, thank you. It is distracting to hear myself echoing back in my own headset, though. So yeah. I'm okay, chances. It's a whole new experience here for sure.
I know. I'm just hoping I can take your mind off of this. I'm not trying to act like everything's okay. You just lost your father, but we did a live stream before this happened Tuesday of this past week, and we referred to our good buddy, my good buddy, your new buddy, James Enstall, and his program, Geek to Me Radio, and he gave us a nice shout out on his live radio show on KTRS Sunday nights, 10 p.m.
That was a great
11.
show too.
He's on Eastern time, 10 to 11. He's on 9 o'clock. It's his local time, 9 to 10 p.m. Sunday nights in Central Time Zone. And then in your neck of the woods, he's on at from 7 to 8 p.m. West Coast time. And we thought that his guest referred to your fake alias on Facebook as complimenting her hairdo, right? It sounded like it, but on playback, I think that he actually said Amber, the name of the actress who's a very sweet lady.
It's funny too, because I've watched it since you mentioned that on Tuesday. Sorry about that. I accidentally muted the mic when I moved it. Oops. I noticed that when I went back to listen to the clip itself, right?
Right.
But now I'm hearing it both ways. I'm like, now I just don't even know.
I need to play it back. I heard Amber. Maybe he did say Mary. Oh, I like your hairdo, Mary. Or is it like? Well, we can't play it back, can we?
I did upload that clip to Facebook, but
I know I didn't prepare
it's on my StreamYard. But yeah,
I didn't prepare you. Well, anticipation. That's one of my favorites. I love Carly Simon. Says Jim's camera at dawn, waiting for the YouTube to come back up. And I don't hear it in the other room.
It's down. It'll be back up in a minute.
I hope so. Now it's back. I hear it.
While I'm here,
hey, we're back, Jim. Jim, I put your comments on the screen. That's pretty funny. Anticipation is making me wait. Carly Simon song reference. Yeah, we're back. I guess the bloopers were just too much for the YouTube bots. They just couldn't handle it.
You know the bloopers that I uploaded to my channel, right?
Yeah, you sent them to me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I can bring them up on my end here if you want. We played them on my channel before.
We'll save them for next week. I don't want to. I'm gonna sign off in about a minute anyway. I just had a couple more clips to play of humorous clips. I want to play the Paul Lynde that I promised, and I forgot. I didn't forget. Actually, take 20. I didn't forget.
Take 20.
I wanted people to hang around to the very end. I have a Groucho Marx clip that is great. That I wanted to play for Jerry Dobson. If he's still around, if he's moving and playing us in the background, you're going to want to see this. So anyway, I just want to say heartfelt condolences to you, Sarah. You're a great friend of the show. And I don't know what I can say or do, but I did mail you something before I even learned about this passing. Some cards and a comic book and a DVD of Electra Woman and Dyna Girl that hopefully will cheer you up. I don't know.
I know it will, and I appreciate that immensely. And just so you know, Chance, you're epic AF, and I got you back. Don't worry.
Thank you, dear. Well, I'm going to play the clips now. I guess I'll play them now because I need to go. I got stuff to do tomorrow. I know you do too. You know, you got a lot of family arrangements to make and things.
Well, really, everything starts Monday, so I got a couple more days of myself, and then it's I got to move out of my house by the end of the month, and after that, who knows where I'll be? But hopefully, you'll stick with me and be around when I get to come back fully, because I'll figure it out like I always do. But
well, maybe talk offline, because I don't understand why you need to move, and that's none of my business. But hang out backstage.
Well, just real quick, I'm in a mobile home park that's a mobile home park for senior citizens, and you have to be 45 and older to be here. I'm only 41.
Oh, okay. I thought he owned the property, so he's renting it, or it was like a community.
Yeah, I think he owned the trailer, but the property itself the trailer sits on is to the mobile home park, and so I can't afford it. So we're gonna have to move out, sell it, and then I have to figure out after that everything. So it's a lot.
You know, losing your dad, and then you have a situation. It'll work out. You know, you're going to land on your feet. You're not going to be, Lord forbid, homeless.
Well, I am, because it's how it is. But everything will always work out eventually. I guess the worst case scenario is the street, but the best case scenario is it'll take a few, but it'll all work out. So at the end of the day, I got a great family support system. My mom, even my brother came over today, and I haven't seen him in like years. He waved hi to me. He didn't say anything, but he waved hi. That's a start.
Is he older or younger brother?
He's 3 years older.
And you see Jim, I put on the screen, Jim's camera at dawn says, Sarah, best wishes.
And thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, let's get back to the comedy. I'm going to play the Groucho Marx clip now, Sarah, and then hang out. I want to talk with you. Well, I guess you sort of answered my questions, actually, but just if you want to hang out, fine. If not, I understand too. But let's get back to the game show fun.
I'm just waiting on dinner. I got plenty of time.
Okay. Here's Groucho being disturbed by something. It's a 5-minute clip.
Mr. Hall, where are you from?
Originally from Kansas, born in Kansas. Farm.
Well, you don't have to get angry about it.
It was kind of tough out there.
This guy's trying to hypnotize me. Huh? I'm afraid to ask him any more questions. Did you grow up on a farm in Kansas? Did you grow up on a farm back there in Kansas?
No, I left when I was 10 years old.
Uh-huh. Your name is Albert Hall?
Yes.
Well, that's in London. Isn't that where the musicians play in the concerts?
Oh, yes.
Did you know that? Were you named after that place?
Evidently. I didn't select the name.
Oh. Such a soft job up here. Huh? The last time I come down here without my blackjack. Where did you go when you left the farm?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
What were you doing there?
Well, I went to school there. When I quit school, I got a job on the Nebraska State Journal as a printer's devil.
Will you ask him the next question? You were apprentice dabbler. Well, why did you get fired? Maybe you weren't the type, huh?
I didn't get fired.
Oh. Al, are you married?
Oh, yes.
You are, huh? How long you been married, Al?
42 years.
Is your wife out here with you?
Yes, she's in the audience.
Oh. Well, what sort of work have you been doing lately?
Well,
homicide?
I came to Seattle and I got a job on the Seattle
You imagine if he doesn't win any money here, what's going to happen to me? I'm leaving long before that. You say you went to Seattle and you got a job on the paper?
Seattle Times in the composing room.
I see. And how long were you there?
15 years.
Maybe I can out-frighten him. Boy, would he fit in all of Dickens' stories, huh? Oh, wait a minute. You said food, so you and Gargantua each get $50. All right, beat it, Doc. Do these engineers... Maybe I can charm them. Mr. Hall, I am reluctant to do this, but let's get back to you. What are you doing in Hollywood, and who are you frightening? What are you doing here at present, Mr. Hall?
Well, things got tough up in the mountains, no money. I came to Hollywood to find out how they make money.
Well, how do they make money?
I walk up and down Hollywood Boulevard, and I come to the conclusion that 50% of them there are on relief. And then I think the other 40% are going around to these banks and loan companies. There's 3 or 4 in every box.
I think you've got something there. Now, have you decided on the type of work that you'd like to do in Hollywood? What would you like to do, Al, as long as you're out here now? You're not doing anything.
Well, what you're doing there looks kind of soft.
Well, it is, but I don't want it to get around, that's all. Just, I guess the jig is up.
Now, here is a clip of Paul Lynde. Let's keep the laughter rolling on Hollywood Squares. Before, of course, he passed away in 1982. He's been gone that long, Paul Lynde. Let's watch a 3-minute clip, and then we'll say goodnight after this.
Paul Lynde, all in the Hollywood Squares.
Paul Lynde.
Liz Taylor had 1,000 little diamonds and 25 large ones decorating a part of her body. Which part?
Her chin.
Sonny Bono. Sonny Bono sadly admitted recently that although he's been looking, he'll never find another. Another what?
Job.
According to the famous story, who did Narcissus eventually fall in love with?
Well, for a while he was married to Carol Lawrence.
Was Snow White a blonde or a brunette? Snow White, was she a blonde or a brunette?
Only Walt Disney knew for sure.
According to French chef Julia Child, how much is a pinch?
It's just enough to turn her on.
Do we know, Paul, do we know of anyone who ate over 1,200 baked beans in a half hour?
That may explain what happened to Amelia Earhart.
True or false, research indicates that Christopher Columbus liked to wear bloomers and long stockings.
Well, it's not easy to sign a crew up for 6 months.
True or false? There's a new birth control dog food on the market.
Yes, it's good for girls on a budget.
And he has a new book out, Liberace has, called The Things I...
Oh, put in my hair.
When is it a good idea to put your pantyhose in the microwave oven for about 2 minutes?
When your house is surrounded by the police.
True or false? Anne Margaret reached 30 this year.
Just when she inhales.
What should you call the group of dancers in a ballet?
Silly savages.
Does Raquel Welch like milkshakes?
She doesn't have much choice, does she?
What's the main thing we get from Honduras?
You got it, too.
From what animal do you get your silk blouses? From what animal do you get your silk blouses?
An animal to you, Peter, but kind and generous to me.
In what state was Abraham Lincoln born?
In what state?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like all of us, naked and screaming.
President Nixon recently told Time magazine that he doesn't have something in the bedrooms of any of the places he lives. What doesn't he have in the bedroom?
Fun.
According to the Constitution, Paul, what's the proper term for our form of government?
At the moment, shaky. Or will you accept?
Ain't that the truth? So, oh man, those one-liners are just classic. Classic. Let's see what other comment we have. So funny, Chance. Yeah, I know. Have you seen Paul Lynde before? Paul Lynde was amazing. Of course, he was on Bewitched. All right, well, we're going to continue with Gene Rayburn, who we'll start with next week on the Nostalgic Podblast. I appreciate everybody being here, all the listeners, all the viewers, all the people that commented. Really appreciate your support and patronage, and stay healthy and have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next time right here on the Nostalgic Podblast. Have a great week.